And we're live, back at it. Grounded Theory podcast. Got my guy Spencer. How do you say your last name?
Oldham. So that when I was in the military, they staged growing it up and called it Oldham. So, and a quick story. So I was in the military, and you go through basic training, and as you go through basic training, everything is really regimented. So they said for lights out, you had to have summer PTs on. Well, my dumb self, I wore winter PTs because I went to Fort Leonard Wood in the middle of winter.
What are PTs?
I'm sorry, I apologize. So physical training uniform. So and that's what I had. So I wore them winter PTs, and then from there, the drill sergeant goes making his checks throughout the barracks, and he sees me in winter PTs. So then he goes, "Private Oldham, what are you wearing?" Da, 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 da. And it's 12 o'clock at night. Like, you go to bed at 9 because you got to get up at 4. So from there, I'm like, huh? He said, "Oh, I got you. I got something for you." So I'm like, all right. He wakes up my whole platoon at midnight. And they're all saying, "Thank you, Private Oldham. Thank you, Private Oldham," as they were doing push-ups. Now, I couldn't do push-ups because I had to hang my head in shame. So, so from that point, and then he said, "We're going to do fire guard 1 hour on, 1 hour off." And what that basically is you do chores for like an hour and then you go back to sleep. Well, we were going to have to do that 1 hour every rip till we had to wake up. And it wasn't a good night. Anyway, long story short, that's where the Private Oldham, that's what that reminds me of.
So that kind of brings back some memories.
100%. Or like, I got so many Army stories. My family always put on my mail, John Spencer Oldham. That's my name. Private John Spencer Oldham. And I had to do 10 push-ups for every piece of mail. Well, I got about 12 pieces of mail every day. And then on top of that, then they would always say my name, like the drill sergeant, Private John Spencer Oldham, and that was the whole thing. But yeah.
Dude, that's some like stuff you hear in movies.
Oh, my mom, when I would come back, so I came home, so for Christmas, so I had my basic training was split. So I went from November, then you got the Christmas leave for a week and a half. And my mom, I'm telling her all these stories, like the one drill sergeant, eat your yum yum shoes, and then you had to say, "I love my yum yums, drill sergeant," and that was like a thing. So like it was like, yeah, it was a deal.
That's wild. I had episode, I think it was 11. I had my guy Max Reed on here. We went to high school together, and then he got deployed to the Army. Actually, just recently. But he's doing like he's a mechanic, and so it's cool to hear these stories of someone like from a different perspective. That's like, you said wake up at 9 or go to bed at 9, wake up at, you said
4:34, yeah.
And then so you said everything's like very regimented. I'd imagine the bedtime and awake time is very like lights out at 9.
Yeah, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and you cannot go to sleep till 8:30, 9 o'clock. So you're staying up that whole rip.
Was that ever challenging?
Yes.
Yeah.
They called me one time. I was just laying on the bed. I wasn't sleeping. I had fire guard 1 hour on, 1 hour off. So I got like 3 hours of sleep, and you still got to have that next work day. So but I didn't realize it at the time. So when I joined, I went to the recruiter right here in South County, and I said, "Hey, I want to join." Well, first I tried to join the Navy, and the Navy said I had a year-long waiting list. And I'm like, I'm trying to get out of here now. So I said, let's go to the Army recruiter. So from there, he said, "Man, we got human resources specialists. You're going to be in a desk. You're not going to deploy." Yeah, I got the BS card on that one. So I was part of a red. The reason why I'm telling you this is they were preparing us to deploy to Afghanistan. And from there, I served 2 tours in Afghanistan. But how that went is I went into a rapid deploying unit, and I went 9 months on, 9 months off, back and forth. And I always say I went a 20-year-old kid or a 19-year-old kid, and I came back a 20-year-old man.
19 years old would have been like freshman year of college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I had to sign a will at 19 years old.
Damn.
Yeah.
So what was like, so such a young age going into the Army, what was the motivation to do that?
I was living on 39th and Shaw, and it wasn't at that time a good area. And I wasn't good enough to play college basketball at that time. My grades weren't good, and I knew I didn't want to go to college, and I didn't want to work a dead-end job. What else I got to lose? And I'm fifth generation too, or fifth generation military. So everybody else did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So my great grandfather, World War II vet, both of them are. And then my grandfather wasn't Vietnam or Korea. He was in the Lebanon conflict. He was in the Army. Dad, Air Force, Uncle Navy, and I'm Army.
So you probably grew up thinking that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
To do that.
I mean, I didn't look at it as, basketball was my life. I love basketball. I knew everything there was in NBA, whatever. I was a nerd. I watched Sports Century and all. Like, that was my thing. So, but then I really knew it was a real thing when life's all about having options. And when you don't have options, it's not fun. And I didn't have any more options. So the military was my last option.
It's also kind of context dependent. Like sometimes when you don't have any options except one, you just lock the fuck in on that.
That's right. That's right.
Would you say that was kind of your experience? Like there's nothing else to do. I might as well do this. Let me just buy in and embrace it. Because you had to have known that it was going to suck, kind of.
I didn't know that. So it's funny. So I got a lot of basic training stories. So you go through basic training. They have this thing called Shark Attack. So Shark Attack, they don't do this anymore. They don't do half the stuff I went through now. But so you get all your gear. You go through CIF and you get all your stuff. And you get on this bus after a week to go to basic training. So it's like this eerie quiet while you're going. And so as soon as the bus stops, boom, and you got your head in your bag, like you're just waiting. As soon as that happens, the drill sergeant comes in, get out, fuck out the bus, get out the bus. Everybody's screaming, and as soon as you get off, God forbid you drop your bag, because then they're taking all the stuff out of the bag. They're throwing it all over the place. You don't know what to do. Then they're saying, find your dot. And we're like, where's the dot? So you're screaming, you're beat feet and trying to get there. And then finally you get there and they're just smoking you. It's called smoking you. And they're yelling. There's 7 round hats going around. Anyway, so that prepared you for what needed to happen if you went overseas.
So that's something I've heard a lot is the yelling, the environment that they create of hostility and bowing your head in shame and doing all this stuff. It's like mentally to prepare you because
I'll ask you, Jay Blossom practice. That's basically what he did in a sense, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Right. So give me a shame story from Jay Blossom. I know you got one.
I got a lot of them. Definitely stuff that wouldn't fly today. I can tell you that. Stuff that for me, I can speak on like me personally. Stuff made me feel like shit. Mm-hmm. Just like as a person. Like, damn, bro, I'm not shit, dog. Fuck.
Yeah.
I'm like, and just here's a good question. Actually, I used to get like super bad anxiety before practice. Mm-hmm. Not super bad, but I just got real nervous. Like, damn, I'm really not trying to do all this running. I'm really not trying to get yelled at. That had to have been. Not
to cut you off, bro. So my dad was a varsity basketball coach. He was the head coach of Perryville High School for 8 years. Went to an Elite 8, had an Elite 8 run. He coached the same areas for a while, JV. That's where he met my godfather, and my godfather was the winningest coach in Bishop DuBourg history. Well, he was about Blossom. So I remember one time we blew it against some team we were supposed to beat by 40. So he goes and gets a couch and puts it at half court. And he says, y'all want to be funny? Y'all want to get entertained? Here we go. 10-1. Boop. Oh, I'm going to send you guys. Doo-be-doo-be-doo. And while we're doing the 10-1s, we stop. Oh, y'all think it's funny? Boop. So I think we did like 15 10-1s in that little rip. So, but I think that prepared me for the military for sure. Like the anxiety you talked about. I don't know. How was your water breaks? Because my water breaks You got one water break, and it was a 1 minute washout. And you better go get to them sinks, and you just trying to get any type of water you can before you get next to practice. So I'm curious how yours was.
We didn't have water breaks.
At all?
It was the gym, and then there's a water fountain like right outside. And so you're going from drill to drill. And when I say drill to drill, it's like we do a drill. If it takes more than 60 seconds to transition to the next drill, they're on our head about it. So everything's fast paced. Maybe it's like a 4-on-4 drill, do your thing. And then someone like subs you for that one rep, go out, get a drink, come back. But if you're not back in time, it's bad news.
Yeah. So my question to you is, why do you feel like coaches like my godfather, Coach Mack, or even a Tatum, really, Tatum's like that. Why do you feel like they're getting phased? Not necessarily Tatum didn't get phased out, but a lot of them older coach-style coaches are getting phased out.
Yeah, it's a layered question. I mean, I've had previous coaches and coaches that have been in the game for a while just say, like, you just can't talk to kids the same way you used to. And the reasons why, I can only guess. I think there's a big like societal thing that's kind of above my head, just like the generation we live in. I think social media plays a big part. The like player empowerment movement, every player is kind of their own brand. You know what I'm saying? What do you think?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's a societal thing. I heard a great quote. Have you seen Last Chance U?
I've seen clips, but not too much.
So Coach JB, the white dude from Compton, he always says, and I love what he says. He says, either you coach it or you allow it. Either you parent it or you allow it. And I think there's too much allowing and not enough coaching and not enough parenting. Because we see, especially around St. Louis, well, and just in general, all these kids are jumping in the portal and not getting to the achievements that they would like because they're not prepared. And somebody down the road or down the line coddled them and they weren't able to be successful because of that.
Yeah. There were times at Webster during practices, I wanted to quit. I'm sure there are times in the Army that you were like, fuck this, bro. I just want to go home, you know?
Nah, I didn't have that. No, hell no.
Okay.
Because I was coming from the dope dealer was right down, basically right across the street. You had lookouts right there. Like, my mentality was, I don't care if I got to do basic training over again. I'm not going home.
That's fire.
I'm not going home. Like that was me. And David Goggins wasn't around or none of that type of stuff was around, but you had to have the mentality. Like, I'm thinking, somebody put it on social media the other day. It's like, we were seeing cadence is like, shoot him in the head, kill him. And then reload and shoot him again. like that was the mentality you got to have, because I'm going home. Like when Afghanistan, when you go overseas, you got to have that mentality. I'm coming home. No, I didn't. There's certain things I'm glad I didn't have to do, because you got to live with that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that's like, do you know why people say thank you for your service?
Go ahead.
So Vietnam veterans, I work at the VA hospital now, and I'm around a lot of them, and a lot of them got drafted. And it was very divisive around that time, because there was a camp that really didn't want to go, and there was a camp that did, or just went because they were told. Well, when they came back home, they were getting spit on and getting called baby killers, and it was not a good thing to be in the military at that time. That's where that comes from. So they didn't get treated well. So now we get to thank you for our service.
To like make up for the mistreatment?
No, they made sure people said it.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, the culture shifted because of them. Yeah,
wow.
They paved the way. And I didn't, so I'm at Fort Hood in Texas. Now it's Fort Cavazos. It's in Central Texas, and it's hotter than the gates of hell. It's like 105 degrees in the shade. And we're trying not to fall out in formation. And we're like, we're welcoming these veterans home. And as we're welcoming them home, I'm thinking in my head, I'm ignorant. I don't know any better. I'm like, why are we welcome? I can't talk. Why are we I can't talk. Anyway, they're coming home.
Tongue twister.
Here we go. But I'm like, why are we doing this? And then now I get it. like because they were crying like for the thank you of it, like because they never got it.
Huh.
And 40 years later, they got it.
So that's interesting. You saw other people from the Army come back and didn't make the connection of what they just got back from, or what was it?
No, because I mean, Vietnam was in 68, like from 66 to 70, something like that. So, and this is 2012. So I'm like, why are we celebrating them? Not realizing they didn't ever get a good welcome home.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
You know, people are crying. My uncle's crying that I'm home, and he's, I'm happy. I'm tearing up. Like, it's a big deal. And but back then, and not to mention the PTSD and all the craziness that you got to go through within it. And back then, they didn't have nobody to talk to. Nobody.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not to get too deep, but that's why I feel like mental health is a big thing. And it's funny. I was talking to my homeboy about coming on his podcast, and he said, "The rise and fall of Coach the OG." And I said, "It's true." And so I had 30,000 followers on the gram when I was stationed in Texas, and I was an innovator in a sense because I was one of the first people to train and do video editing. And then I would come home on leave too. So I'm doing everything in Texas, and when I'm home on leave, I'm going to U City Rec. Shout out to Jamar Perkins who put me on. Like all these dudes, the first kid I ever trained, AJ, who ended up passing
Sanders.
away. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We were teammates.
That's right. Oh, yes, you know him. Yeah, he's one of the first kids. It was him and Jamar. And I would go there. I go to South City, and then just built my brand off that. Then I'm on Instagram one day, and some dude hits me and says, "Hey, what's your email?" I said, "Here it is." I sent it to him. He says, "I'm the director of the San Antonio Spurs camps, and I want you to work it." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Let me put in my leave." So I did that. And there was a kid I was training. His name was Rashad Oldham. He played at OU. I think Buddy Hield's senior year, it was his freshman. I was able to work Lon Kruger's camp off that. So anyway, to make a long story long, I got out and I thought I really had the world by the balls. And then mental health hit me.
From Army.
Yeah, that and childhood and all that. You know what I mean? And that's why I think mental health is very, very important to know who you are as a person. Who are you going to be without basketball? How does this define me? All that. And I had to go through that.
That's what grounded is. Staying grounded, being true to yourself. Lots of outside noise. People telling you what to think, who to be. Staying grounded is being tapped in with you. Locking in, and maybe that means like taking time away, a little dark period off social media, not really like going out, hanging out with people, and just going for a walk, and like tapping in with who you are. Do you have like certain methods to keep the mental right? Go to the gym, get the muscles right. Do you have anything?
I pray. My Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I mean, when I was in Afghanistan, I worked in the hospital. So I did that, and then I did some gate guard. So when I worked in the hospital, my job was casualty liaison team. So when somebody would come off the bird, they would, be injured for however bad it was. And they're ripping clothes off, and as they're ripping clothes off to work on them, my job is to take them clothes, take them in the vault, patient valuable stuff, mark it. Then I got to tell their unit, their commander, and their family, hey, this is what happened. Put it in an email, and then I got to make sure if they're not intubated or ventilated, if they could breathe and talk, I give them a phone card and then call their family. That's wild. And then I did gate guard where I'm checking people for suicide bombs.
So that's just kind of the top of the mountain in terms of, I mean, you could use the word trauma, but it's just like death is right there,
So the cool thing about it is we had these things called B huts, and there was like 10 soldiers to a B hut, and you had your own little room. Well, there was an Enduring Faith Chapel was right next to my B hut, and I remember hearing "He Is Able" is a gospel song, and I went to church one time and I just teared up just because I knew how good God really was, and I went to church off and on, but really knew how great he was at that time.
And so that goes back to what you brought up about the transfer portal and stuff like that, because to me, the connection I just made was like, you kind of circled back to God and how great he is through the hardships, through the adversity. And on the transfer portal side, there's something to be said. Coach and player may not be a good fit. Maybe it makes more sense to move on.
You didn't take a visit?
To the school.
Yeah, you didn't take a visit?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think eventually we got to start putting it on like, okay, you didn't know they had 3 point guards and you're a point guard? Like, it's like we got to start, you control your own destiny when it comes, that's another tangent. Go ahead though.
Yeah. No, that is facts, like taking control of your destiny.
No, you're good.
So something to be said. Maybe the coach and player aren't the right fit. Maybe it makes more sense to transfer. But there is something to be said about, it sucks. There's some adversity, but it's important that we face it, because on the other side is stuff that you can't even imagine.
Did you play college basketball?
I played 1 year, yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you ever miss the camaraderie?
For sure.
Like, that's the thing that I miss about the military. Not the Army. I don't miss that. I miss like Sergeant such and such checking on me, or like, hey, making sure you're good. Like, I knew I could depend on them people.
It becomes a family.
100%.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah.
So, and that was a cool thing about it. And now once and then plus, you're almost get institutionalized in a sense, because once you're used to being told what to do. Every day you wake up, you do PT. From PT, you go to work, or motor pool Monday. You check the car, and then you go do your work, and then you're off. And then that's your daily routine. But then you get out on the outside, and Sergeant such and such ain't checking on you no more, and you don't know what to do anymore because nobody's telling you.
Was that a big adjustment for you?
Oh yeah, even with me being set up, quote unquote, I was supposed to be some big influencer, right? Like I was set up that way. But that's why I think God is so good, because he knew he won't give you anything you're not able to handle. And I wasn't ready for that at that time. And that's hard. It's just, even for players, it's hard to say, you know what? I want to be the guy, but I'm not emotionally mature enough to be the guy to get everybody to play around me. And that's hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to think about how we have like this vision of how something's supposed to work out, but then God can kind of have a bird's eye view of it, and he says, nah, like this is the plan,
That's right.
Stuff that we might not even be able to comprehend. So you were stationed out in Central Texas in the military?
Yes, sir.
And you were filming basketball content?
Man, I did it all, brother. You know what I mean? I'm a jack of all trades, damn near. But
I can tell.
So man, them runs were crazy, bro.
So you're stationed out with
Texas.
the military,
Yeah,
and then you have enough downtime
to go play. So you work. It's basically a 9 to 5. Like while you're in country, it's a 9 to 5.
Okay.
But when you deploy, obviously it's a little different. So those it was this gym called Abrams. And at Abrams, you had 3 courts. Now, the main court had Royce O'Neal, Corey Jefferson. Like, all the Baylor dudes would come down because all of them went to Baylor, and they would come down and play. So you had to be legit to get on that court. Mike, I think Mike went to SIUE. He's 6'8". But anyway, regardless, that was the good court. Then you had the second court if you didn't want to wait, but you could still hoop. And the third court was for the scrubs that couldn't get on the first 2. So, and it was a blast. That's the most fun I ever had playing basketball, really, was in the military.
So you were playing at those runs, or
100%. Yeah, I was a scrub when I was in high school, but once I joined the Army, my body filled out, my first step, my boogie got nice. I started jumping rope. Like, that's when my game really elevated. And then from there, I had tried out at Baker University because I had a buddy of mine who played there, and the coach liked my game. But I had 3 years left on my Army contract, and I couldn't get out of it. So that's when I started coaching.
And so at those runs, you were playing sometimes and then also filming?
No, I was just playing. That's before, so the genesis of me filming was Devin in the lab. And
Oh, gee.
Yeah, and he was like 1 or 2 years in when I had got a hold of it. So like I was doing mixtapes around that little high school area in 2014.
Texas high school?
Yeah, in Central Texas. So like Harker Heights, if you know the area, Killeen, Texas, Carpus Cove, where RG3's from. Like that's where that stems from.
And so the early stages of making the mixtapes for you, what was the style? Was it like Devin the Lab, 10,000 hours documentary type style?
It was corny. Like I had a tablet first. Like I learned this in the service too. You can't run before you walk, and you can't walk before you crawl. So don't get discouraged if you start at a small spot. So, but I was on a tablet, like a little Android tablet. And I
like
was
an
getting
iPad
content. Yeah,
tablet?
but I was good at editing, so I could kind of BS it a little bit to make it look good.
So it was like a mixtape, flashy type stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it looked good. The kids loved it because that was new. That's before all mixtapes was coming out and everybody could get one.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, I was at a gold mine, right?
Yeah.
And then I did that, and it was fun, man. We'd go to all those different runs around Central Texas, and I'd play, or I'd film it, and it was cool.
From the picture you're painting, it sounds like that's a pretty cool era of your life. You're 9 to 5 in the military, and then hooping, and then filming. Oh,
I got like 4 hours of sleep every night.
Yeah,
because I was like, I'd wake up at 6 o'clock, go to PT, then go to work. I'd get off. I'd be in formation. Like, come on, I got to get to my next job. Like, like this is my dream. I'm going here. So then I'd either train or we'd have AAU practice or something like that. And shout out to my brother Jamil Rideout. We started an AAU program out there called Central Texas Clutch. And Clutch, we were good. So Fort Hood is a very underdeveloped area as far as hoopers because it's a football area. But we had all these athletes, and we're coaching them up. And we got the best kids in each grade from 6th grade to freshman, like the best. And we got kids dunking in 6th grade. Like, we're good. So anyway, to make a long story long, like that's if I had to have a crystal ball, I go back. I would have stayed in Texas. I would have never came back home.
It also sounds like, so you're doing military and then you're also doing basketball at the same time. And then growing up, you were 5th generation military. And then also you had a handful of family members that were coaches. So then was there this point of like, which avenue do I go down?
No, I knew I didn't want to do 20 years
of military.
Yeah, because basically the 20-year point is your retirement time when you retire. And I knew I didn't want to do that.
So then you said you had like 3 years left on your contract.
Yeah, so like when I had first just got to Fort Hood, I was in processing, and it was a newcomer's brief, basically saying, "Hey, welcome to Fort Hood." And there was this tall black sergeant. He looked mean as hell, and I'm sitting right next to him. I said, "Hey, Sergeant, where you from?" He said, "I'm from St. Louis." Oh, okay, cool. What? Me and him hit it off great, and he told me something I never forgot. He said, "Either you do 4 or 6 years and you get out, or you do 20. There's no in between." Because then you could have spent that 12 years in another profession if you did 12.
You either do 4 to 6 or 20 as in like contractually.
Yeah, that's it. No. So basically, you usually do 4-year stints, but after 12, you're fully vested. So after 12 years, you're doing a whole another 8, and then that's 20. Okay. But you could do 4-year, but at 12, that's it. I did 6.
Yeah. So,
and I might have stayed in, man, to be honest with you. But my, my re-enlistment, I thought I was going to be able to stay at Fort Hood, but I got orders to go to Alaska. And I was like, I ain't going there. So, and that was it. I got out.
Just didn't like the weather over there?
Well, I could only come home once a year. At the time, my grandmother had just died. So for me, I was like, I wanted to be closer to home. And then I'd only come home once a year, and I could still deploy from Alaska. So I'm like, nah, I'm cool on that. I just did 2 deployments in 3 years. I'm cool.
So then you make that decision to kind of close that chapter, military, Army, and then where do you set your sights? What's next?
I went into a 3-year depression. And from there, yeah, I mean, I'm not afraid to admit it. Like, it was hard. It really, really was hard. But I can empathize with people that go through it now. Like before, you know how you can be on your high horse and be like, I don't know why anybody could be upset or why. No, I can see it. So, but so after that, I started coaching with Coach Coach Nate at Normandy. So I was over there. I was gung ho for the military too, man. And me trying to coach at Normandy, it didn't mix. So I did that for about half a semester, and then right out, he got out, and I met him. He was Staff Sergeant right out when I met him, and he got out. And then he was living in Virginia, and I just went and lived with him for like a year.
To coach over there?
Nah, just go.
Hang out?
Yeah, I went, and then I went to Central Texas College. Central Texas College is kind of like a military school, but I went there, and that's where who's the cat who plays for North Carolina, who just graduated? Big Babcock, I think. Anyway, long story short, he's a 16 cat from Richmond, Virginia, and I got to see him and I got to see a whole nother side of basketball in Richmond. So it was cool. It was a big city. I remember I went into there's a soul food spot called Mama J's.
I think we're good. Keep on talking because I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Mama J's?
Yeah, so there's a soul food spot called Mama J's, and I would go there on my cheat meal whenever I wanted to eat. So I go in there the first time, and I'm like, man, I'm from St. Louis. We got sweetie pies. Like, this better be good. And they don't know sweetie pie. I don't like sweetie pies, but they don't know that. So I'm like, man, this better be good. And when I tell you that homemade tartar sauce with the catfish, stop it. And I'm going to shout out my boy Manny Harris. You don't know who this dude is, but he took an abandoned warehouse and put it in. It was in the heart of the hood in Richmond, Virginia. And it's called Blacktop Kings and Queens. And he made that special for those guys. Those kids had 3 or 4 shooting machines, had 2 Vertimaxes. Like, he made it special for those kids. And he lost the gym, unfortunately, I think a couple years ago. I forget what for, but he was a special dude. And I was happy I was able to meet him. And then I learned about John Marshall High School with Zay Todd. Like, you know who Zay Todd is?
Isaiah Todd?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got to see him at John Marshall. Like, that's the Vashon of Richmond. Okay. So I got, you know what I mean? Like, you start connecting dots. And then from there, I was just starting to really get into, I got my first DSLR camera. So I was starting to figure that out. What is that, 2017? So, and it's weird. So I'm watching the CPA game with Brandon and them, and they play St. Mary's. I remember watching that in Richmond, like, wow, CPA are kind of an upcoming team. This would be interesting.
You're in South Carolina at this time?
Virginia.
Virginia.
You're good. Yeah, I live a bunch of different places. So, anyway, and I'm a DeBerg guy, so I don't like St. Mary's. So, like, at that time at least, now I don't care. But anyway, to make a long story long, I come back home and I'm training a few kids from CPA, and I get a hold of Coach K, and bada bing, bada boom, I get on the staff there.
So you guys connected because you're in CPA's gym training CPA guys.
No, I'm training them in O'Fallon Y. Okay. I've always been a YMCA guy, man. The YMCA, those are always the best runs to me. But
so how did you guys get connected?
Instagram, because I still had my 30,000 followers at the time. Yeah, so I was still able to network myself through that. And then I kept bugging him. I said, man, let me talk to your coach. And finally I was able to, and I got on the staff.
As a varsity assistant?
Yeah, as an assistant. Yes, sir.
And so you said you were coaching at Normandy before that?
Yes, sir.
And then what was your role there?
Player development. Like, okay. I was just helping train the kids.
Nice.
So that was a blessing. I can't thank him enough, man. I learned so much from Coach Nate. He's a really good coach and a great person too. He really cares about his community and really helping his community. And it tipped my hat off to him. He's a really good person.
So then you're at CPA. Were you there for Brandon and Leon?
No, I was the year after that.
Once they left.
I was there for the rebuild. It wasn't really a rebuild though. We reloaded low key. When we got Greg from Pattonville, and then from Greg we got Tavon from Riverview. I mean, we were recruiting our behind off.
Yeah.
So
what would you say? So Normandy versus CPA, the roles sound like they're a little different, but what would you say the main difference was? Or maybe like a lesson that you learned at CPA?
A lesson that I learned at CPA was you have to teach the game. You cannot yell. And they have to feel like we're all in this together. So if I'm like, for instance, if you're not doing what I'm asking you to do, I'm just going to say, I'm here to teach. This is my classroom. Like running is a waste of my time. Like it's pointless. Like that's what I learned. Like if you just make people run, that don't mean nothing. Like you have to build a relationship, and then sometimes you do need to be a disciplinarian and say, look, we got to run because we're not playing hard enough. But I put it on myself as a coach, and I wish more coaches would do this, is how can I teach it better? How can I break it down better? Because here are my 3 rules of coaches to see if it's a good coach. Do they have a practice plan? Do they have an offense and defensive philosophy? And then do they have breakdown drills to support their offense and defensive philosophy to teach it? And if they don't, you know what I mean? You're just like everybody else.
So did you used to be the yeller, get on the line, we're running?
Oh, yeah. I'm former military. What do you think?
So, okay. So you were saying something about like gun-ho at Normandy.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was?
I wasn't that bad. I mean, I really, this so long ago, I really don't remember it like that. But, yeah, I was like that at Confluence for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I appreciate those times. Like now I'm super mellow. I still yell, but like it's a different type of yell. Like I'm yelling to teach. Like I'm yelling to keep the tempo of the practice going. Like it's not necessarily like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, boom, next drill. We're here, and then we're into it, right? Versus I don't know. Like I can't be that dude that just says, "All right, we're gonna do this drill, fellas. Let's go over here." That ain't my style. Mm-hmm. So, and some people could do it, but not me.
That is a good point about coaches looking themselves in the mirror and thinking like, how can I say this differently to make it click? Because sometimes like the kid they're coachable, you know, it's not that they're not coachable or whatever it is, just something about the words that you're saying. If you just change it, it can kind of click. I think that's a super important point.
And I wish coaches would stop viewing their success by scholarships. Stop it.
College coaches?
No, high school coaches.
How many kids they get?
Yeah, to go to college.
Gotcha.
Stop it. Because if a kid gets a job at Procter & Gamble making $30 an hour, is he any worse than a kid going to college? Or if he goes to Rankin Technical College, takes 9 months to get his plumber certification, he's making $60,000 a year with no student loan debt. Is he any worse than that kid playing college basketball?
Right.
So our priorities are messed up.
Yeah, it's more about developing the human as opposed to just the player.
But the problem is now with social media, everybody wants the gratification of, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, versus saying, well, what is big picture? What does big picture look at? Everybody says, hey, let's have a plan A, right? Let's not have a plan B until plan A fails, and then what? Because I've talked to many kids I coached in college when I was a college coach, that once basketball ended, they were stuck for a while. They didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
And a lot of hoopers go through that, a lot, but nobody's talking about it.
It's hard because one, if you're in high school, you're 14, 15, 16 years old. So like you may not even be able to comprehend like the big picture type thing. But then it's also tough because depending on the level, depending on the school, it is a full-time job, you know? So like you can't help but have your whole identity be a hooper.
I get that, for sure. So what made you stop playing your freshman year?
Well, heading into that year, I was pretty burnt out. 4 years of Jay Blossom.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of running, a lot of, practice.
He's not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Practices aren't like we're just here to get shots up and run through our plays. We're going,
Yeah.
So there were some miles on the body or whatever. So then heading into that year, kind of on the fence, but I was like, all right, let's buy into it. Let's go all in. Did that, left that year somewhat on the fence, and then was 2020. So we got sent home. So it was like, are we going to have a season? Are we not? And by that point, it was just kind of like the last drop of like, I'm cool. So that's what made me stop.
And you was okay with that?
Yeah. It was a very easy decision.
Yeah. Like I tell people about the college thing, for me, it's like, I just wanted to know I could do it.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't need to impress nobody. I wanted to know for me, could I do it? Yeah. Okay. And that's all I needed.
Yeah.
Because when I played on the A court at Fort Hood, everybody asked me where I played college at. You know what I mean? So like, because I'm setting screens, I'm coming off a curl, I'm hitting J's from volleyball line, like people hanging on me. Like I had good days, so I knew. And I think the problem is now with social media, everybody defines themselves by what somebody says, and that's the hard part. Like you were self-aware enough, and I was self-aware enough to know that, but I think you were the last generation before social media, or you were the first generation of social media.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely had it.
Okay.
And I'm talking
about with the phone though. Like for me, I had it, but it was on the laptop. Like you didn't,
like Instagram and stuff.
No, like, I had Facebook. Like I had MySpace. You had Bebo and MySpace. I'm dating myself. Yeah.
We had Instagram. We're
so you had it on the phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was class of 2019.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
But what has changed was the amount of content being created. And what I mean by that is at our high school games, there might be, like, we had a school newspaper. So there might be someone working for that's like taking pictures.
I guess you had Lob City back then.
Lob City was kind of the first. Tom.
Yeah. It's funny, I went to high school with Tom.
Did you?
Yeah, he went to the Berg.
Oh, really?
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, he went. And then at that time, he was Hoop Mixtape. So he was doing that while in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Threat Hoops. Mm-hmm. He was one of those guys. And so, like, he was
in the Navy, by the way, too.
Was he really?
Yeah, he's a veteran. Funny enough. Yeah.
Shout out. So I remember going to, like, AAU games and being like, our games would be at, like, Hazelwood Central or Center St. Louis. I'm like, damn, bro, I hope Threat Hoops is here. It'd be so nice if he could get a flick of me, post it on Instagram. That'd be so tough. Now what's changed is I feel like there's 8 cameramen on the sideline at every game. There's at Center St. Louis, they got cameras up here recording the game, so then you can like go back and watch it. That's what's changed, is the ability to like.
It ruined it, man. Yeah. It ruined it. Like,
yeah.
like I remember watching Brad Beal go for 50 in the Pattonville tournament, and he had a half court shot to send it into overtime, and they beat CBC. And that's the year I think what's his face got fired. The longtime coach, it was Larry Hughes' coach
at CBC.
Yeah, I can't think of his name. Anyway,
I don't even know who was there before Tatum.
He played for the Zips. Bobby McCormick. That's who the head coach of Priory. He was at CBC for a long time. So anyway, long story short, yeah, like that's a legendary moment, and I don't need a video to see that. Like, and that's what's missing really is the mystique. Like, I'll go not necessarily political, but like England and the rest of the world viewed America as a mystique before. But after social media, they actually saw how we lived, and they're like, oh, they're like us. And I think that's part of the problem now too, is there's no mystique.
Yeah.
Like
everything is out here
to
view.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the problem too. It's like, oh, you know, such and such is the best dude in LA. Oh, we finna get at him. Instead of now it's, oh, I play AAU with them.
Yeah.
You know, but in fairness to that though, Vince Carter and Kobe Bryant played on the same AAU team.
Man.
Yeah, they did.
There was one specific AAU team. It may have been that team, and they may have had a third guy, but I remember some like OG AAU team was stacked.
Oh no! So I got a funny story for that. Well, so
yeah, now's the time. God damn it.
Well, here anyway. So after CPA, so we did that. So I did coach the CPA for 2 years. I really enjoyed it, man. I built a really big bond with a lot of those kids. and especially Cam Bevel, who got rest his soul, Corey Lawrence, and then Cam's brother, Kyron. I built a big bond with them. And anyway, so we lost the district game to Hazelwood East, and like 3 days later, I'm like, I'm out. I'm going to Atlanta because Rideout, he moved all over the place. Wherever he would go, somehow I would always find him, and I'm there.
You said, who's that? Rideout?
Yeah, Rideout. He's so he's the guy who I started Clutch with, and he's always been like he's always been family to me, always. So Lil Mill was playing for Team Honcho, his nephew, or my nephew, his son, and he's tough. Like, he's tough. He's playing for Burt Moore. They got 5 D1 dudes on the team. They went to state 7A Georgia twice. Anyway, so I'm at this like tune-up event for Team Honcho. It's like all Team Honcho stuff. So this big 6'5" black guy I'm standing right next to, and I'm just talking ball with him. He's from New York. He said he played for Jay Wright when he was at Hofstra, and we're talking about West Fourth, New York basketball. To make a long story long, I started talking about that AAU team. And I said, yeah, it was Ron Artest, Lamar Odom. He was on that team. His name's Norm Richardson, by the way. Now he's the assistant for the Charlotte Hornets. But
Nice.
Anyway, to make a long story long, that's that team that you're thinking of. They had 9 NBA players.
Okay, that was probably it.
Yeah, that's it. And then from there, I'm talking to him, and me and him are just chopping. Like, he's an amazing dude. And he's like, yeah, I'm the assistant for the Charlotte Hornets. I'm like, seriously? He's like, yeah. I'm like, great. And then the crazy part is, I'm such a basketball nerd. His wife was in a basketball documentary that I knew. It's called Bobito 21 something. And I was like, I know her from the documentary. She's like, oh, word. And then we started talking. So they're great people, man. And then another story on top of that. So I'm recruiting in Atlanta. I know I'm bouncing all over the place, but I'm recruiting in Atlanta for my college. And he's talking to Bill Self as I walk in. So he sees Bill Self and he sees me and he goes, oh, what's up? And then he just mushes Bill Self in the face. Like, that made me feel so good. He's solid. Him and his brother Darrell. Darrell and Rel. They both run Team Honcho. And that's how all that started.
Yeah, so you're a well-traveled individual.
Yeah, I wasn't afraid to take risks. Like, I wasn't afraid to stay in my homeboy's garage. Like, what do I got to lose? What do I got? Like, I wasn't doing nothing with my life. What do I got to lose? And I feel like more and more people should take chances like that. At least take one shot like that. And if you miss, so be. Have you seen Rocky?
Yes,
it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So when basically they're in the bar and Rocky goes, man, you ain't ever took a shot. You ain't ever took a shot. And the bartender says, you want to take a shot? I'll take a shot. And he goes and takes a shot, right? But he's talking about you never really had the cojones to step up and say, chase a dream and see where it's going to go. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to see how far I could take it.
I heard a quote yesterday it says, you'll never look back at your life and wish you would have taken less risks.
Facts.
That one kind of hit me because it's like, damn, that just like puts it so succinctly, and it just makes it so obvious that, like you said, we really don't have anything to lose.
Yeah, and then I was connected to Coach Huff, and you know who Kobe Simmons is? Mm-hmm. So he played at a small private school in Atlanta, but he played at Arizona and he's playing in the NBA right now. Like,
for who?
I think for the Raptors, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
He coached 3 NBA. Malik, so it was him, Kobe Simmons, Malik Beasley, and then Kaiser Gates, and they all played in the NBA at one point. So, and it's like a 1A private school. So yeah, they're getting to it. But anyway, just all the connections I built. If you're a basketball coach and you want to get put on a big level, you either got to go to Chicago or Atlanta. Those are the spots.
Last episode, I had Brett Booker on here.
Yeah, BB. Yeah, he's good people.
You know him?
Yeah, so I coached his son at Normandy.
Ali?
Yeah. No. The older one.
Who?
Brett Booker. That's his name. That's
his
junior.
It?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Brett's a Chicago guy.
Yeah.
So he grew up, I mean, we had a good chunk of our podcast was talking about the Chicago hoop scene, and it's popping. Yeah. We had I told him to, looking back, it was a dumb question for me to ask, or just it's a difficult question. I had him try to rank the top 5 Chicago hoopers of all time.
Yeah, there's like 100 of them.
Dude, he got to 4, or he named his 5, and he was like, "Oh shit, I forgot Dwayne Wade."
If we're talking about high school, just high school, Ronnie Fields has got to be on that list. Do you know who Ronnie Fields is? Ronnie Fields was so cold. He played on KG's Farragut team. He was the other guy. And he had 2,000 points in his career. And they're not playing scrubs. So, and he was so good, they painted a mural up on the up in the gym his senior year. That's how, like, he didn't even graduate yet. And if you go back and look at the tape, he's dunking on everybody. Like, he was a freak athlete, and he was just good. But anyway, he ended up breaking his neck, and he could still play, but the NBA really wasn't rocking with him like that, and that's what happened.
Okay.
But Ronnie's tough.
Ronnie Fields.
Yes.
I'm going to have to look him up.
Yeah, it's a must. And then for him, I mean, you got so many, bro. Isaiah Thomas, old school Isaiah Thomas, Doc Rivers, Mark Aguirre. I'll go old school. KG, Quentin Richardson.
Darius Miles.
No, he's from East St. Louis.
Oh, I'm tripping.
Yeah,
but him and Quentin have a podcast together.
Knuckleheads. Yeah. So, I mean, and really, you got D Rose. I mean, Sharon Collins, even though he had a cup of coffee, he was tough at Crane. So, like, it goes on and on and on.
And again, you didn't even say Dwayne Wade. And that's
I know, right? Yeah. So
2-time champion.
So there was an argument I was watching. I don't know if you watched it back in the day, but the AM1 on ESPN.
Mm-mm.
So anyway, they were arguing who had better guards, New York or Chicago. And I said Chicago. Chicago's got better guards. It's not even close. I mean, if you look at it, I'm going to go guard for guard.
We can.
Okay. So what? Okay. Isaiah Thomas.
I'm doing New York.
Yeah.
Well, now that we're here, I don't know if I know any New York.
You're good. Okay.
Off the top of my head.
We go back. I'll say it back and forth. So you got Isaiah Thomas. New York's got Mark Jackson. Then you got Stephon Marbury. Then I got Derrick Rose. No, Derrick. From there, Isaiah Thomas, Derrick Rose. Then you could say, what's another New York? Skip to my Lou. I'm gonna go Doc Rivers. I mean, I can name 7 NBA point guards off the top of my head from Chicago, like right then. So anyway, that's why I say New York or Chicago.
And then, the LA hoop scene has some guys, but I feel like, so we were talking on the last episode that it's a very different culture over there. Chicago, and from what I've seen, New York too, it's kind of get it out the mud type mentality. LA, you probably have some of that, but I feel like it's a little more, I don't know the right word for it, but not as like gritty.
Yeah, I mean, besides Fort, because Fort Hood changed. Like, besides Fort Hood, like, minus the military, my favorite place to play is in Atlanta. By far. Because you can go into any LA Fitness and there will be a run at any time.
Nice.
Anytime that mug's open, doesn't matter. It could be 6 o'clock in the morning. They are playing. Yes.
And so when you were in Atlanta, you say you were coaching college?
No. So I was filming then. So I was filming my nephew, Lil Mill, with Burt Maher, and I did that. And I was getting Lil Malik right. So his Rideout's middle son. Now he goes to Peachtree Ridge, which is in Gwinnett County. And he plays with Honcho as well, but he plays with Team Smash back and forth. So I still remember that, man. Mikey Williams comes into town. It was Mikey Williams and J.D. Davison. And they played Mill. Mill and they were Double Trouble at that point. Double Trouble was you should look them up. Double Trouble is a huge training business in Atlanta. And they do teams now. They had just started it. Well, they come into town and Mill drops 25, 6, and 6, and Mikey's got 5 points. And they lose by 4. like they were and they had played with the Celtics, the Atlanta Celtics. So anyway, to make a long story long, those were fun times. Like, just to see who we went up against, the Scoot Hendersons of the world, the London Johnsons. Like, he played against all those guys.
And so then, when did you get your gig coaching college?
So I was doing if you want to be halfway good or network with anybody, buy you a camera. I'm serious. Buy you a camera and just figure it out, because that camera got me into so many different positions in my life I never thought I could get in, just because I had a camera and I knew how to use it. So
because people are hitting you up.
Yeah,
can you take pictures?
Because you know who Wallow 267 is? Wallow and Gilly? $1 million worth of game?
No.
Oh, that's a must-see pod. It's not to plug them, but it's really good podcast. Well, anyway, he says, I got the new drug, attention. And I do. Whenever, because everybody wants that attention of the nice video or the nice picture. So I'm filming this commitment video for Jordan Blue, they were trying to get to commit there. And I'm filming it. Now, mind you, this is Denmark, South Carolina. It's in the middle of nowhere, 1,500 people. It's a Piggly Wiggly, a gas station, and like 3 rinky-dink stores, and that's about it. But I'm staying in this garage, and it's cold as a mug, and I'm putting on sweats and trying to make it happen. And so they're going through the spiel, and the guy Cam, he basically did all like the commitment, not commitment, but pitches to the players, and he ended up selling me. So I'm a head coach, because I knew the head coach there, Cabral Huff. Now he's the assistant at Edward Waters, which is a HBCU D2 in Jacksonville, Florida. So I'm like, hey, Coach Huff, man, if I came to school here, like, would you put me on the staff? Because I got the GI Bill that pays for my schooling. He said, yeah, I got you. I said, bet. And then I took it, and that's how I got it.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. And I all of that commitment video. Like,
yeah. Because did he know you had like previous coaching experience? Or how did that work?
I mean, my life's kind of crazy. So I was a CPA. This is like when I had first, like, it was 2018, like right after Brandon. It was my first year. And I went to go visit Rideout because his nephew or his son played for Coach Huff his freshman year. So I go down and visit, and my Rideout, he's always an advocate for me because he's always been my biggest fan. He's like, man, I got a white boy, man. He's tough. Like, he's training wise, like, and they hear this all the time, so they don't believe it. So I get there, and they let me run a station, and I'm
at what?
At the practice, because their season started a week before ours did. So they give me a station. I'm working. Step, move. Hey, you got to sell your move. Hey, step, move. We moving and grooving. I'm guarding them. I don't believe in cones. So, like, it's very intense. And they're loving it. They're eating it up. And then on top of that, so no, that was Flags last year. So Adam Flagler, who played at Baylor, he coached him before. Now he's, I think, in the G League for OKC. Anyway, long story short, at the end of the week, they loved me so much. They said, who raise your hand? We're in a circle, and they say, raise your hand if you felt like you got better with Coach O this week. Everybody raised their hand. Then he goes, raise your hand if you want Coach O to stay. And at that point, I was tired of moving around, and I wanted to be stable. And I said, I went back home.
Damn.
Yeah.
So when y'all are in the huddle, raise your hand if you want them to stay.
Everybody raised their hand.
Did you know that?
I didn't know he was going to do that.
Okay.
No, I did not. And then I was like, wow. And so I ended up being a CPA for 2 years, and then I had that chance again, and I didn't pass it up.
So raise your hand, want them to stay, but then you went back to CPA.
That's right. Yeah.
And why?
Because I was tired of moving. I think the theme throughout my whole life, and especially like my mental health, is I think a lot of people can relate to this from St. Louis. You think just because of where you're from, that's holding you back. No, you're holding yourself back. No other place is going to change you. And I thought if I went here, it would be different. If I went there, it'd be different. It's not like that. You got to change yourself. And that's yeah. I mean, and that's for me. And we'll go deeper into it, but that's why I'm so happy I got close with my mother, and it was a blessing, man. So just to come back home, well, I'll get back into that, but yeah. So I ended up coaching 2 years at Voorhees University, and man, I learned some hoops quick. Like you learn, it ain't just like, okay, you play man to man a certain way. No, you learn every which way of every which way of how you play this zone, how you do that, how you run motion offense, how you know, how different presses. You learn what you need to recruit because of who you're playing against. Like it's a nonstop job. So if anybody wants to get into college coaching, I remember I was talking to a JUCO coach, real cool cat. It was at Shelton State, which is one of the top JUCOs in Alabama. And he was like, how much you get paid? And I was like, I really didn't want to tell him because it wasn't a lot. I said, how much you get paid? He said, I get paid $8,000 a year. I'm like, how you survive?
And this is a college coach.
A JUCO assistant. Yeah. And he said, yeah, I get paid $8,000 and I Uber the rest of it.
Damn.
Yeah. Like I always told the kids, I'm like, it's harder to be a college coach than a college player. Let you know that right now. Because you're going to, as we say in the military, embrace the suck. Because it's not, you're working 18-hour days. That's your life.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a full-time job for sure.
I remember he's the Slay. He's the assistant at Illinois State now. But when I was cool, when I knew him, he was at South Florida. And he had just came there from Youngstown State. And I was like, yo, man, I know you by the beach. You right there in Tampa. I know you're enjoying that. He said, my family is. Like he's recruiting, like that's his deal. So like, and there's never a stopping point either. Like in high school, you can kind of have that stop point. In college, there's not,
because you got to recruit. I think recruiting kind of tips the whatever, like it makes it more of a commitment than high school because you have to worry.
Oh, it's a year-long recruitment. It's a year-long deal.
Everything that a high school coach has to worry about: schemes, defense, offense, players, practice plans, plus I have to prepare a roster for the coming years. And that sounds like, based off our phone call yesterday, recruiting was kind of one of your main responsibilities. No.
I mean, I did player development, and I would do like lives with some of my former players. Joel Davis, he transferred to Harris Stowe his first last year, but I'm really close with him. And I said, hey Joe, what's the best thing that I did at Voorhees? Like, what do you feel like the best thing I did was? He said, the mental health Wednesdays. And what we would do is I'd have 3 groups, and I'd spill my guts out and all my problems, and it gave the guys the permission to do the same. And from there, it was cool. We got close because of that.
It would be you and the whole team?
No, we do small groups. So okay. Like I was group training too. So like I would train the guys, but one day it's like the guys just didn't have it. And I could tell mentally something was going on with a lot of them. So I was like, you know what? Mental health. Boom, let's talk. And I just broke it down of just like, hey, how do you feel? How's your relationship with your dad? I had to learn the love languages. Coach Huff made me read the book, and I read the book, and my love language is touch and quality time. But that's important though, because if you got a guy who's down and his love language is physical touch, hey, give me a high five, bro. How you doing? Or give me an arm around him. If it's quality time, hey, let's get some shots up. You know, like, or if it's words of affirmation, send him a dope text. You know, like that's some next level stuff.
Acts of service. What's the basketball equivalent?
Acts of service.
Probably quality time would kind of intertwine.
In a sense. But acts of service would be like, if a teacher was giving you crap, hey, I'm gonna go talk to him for you. I got you, bro. You know what I mean? Like, and I think a lot of people from the group setting, this is kind of a crazy correlation, but most of them had quality time was their number one. You know what the common denominator was? Not an active dad. And some of them had some of them might even have had a dad, but they just weren't active for whatever reason. So because they were working a lot, or life happens. But yeah,
I think that's another hugely important part of coaching is understanding your players as humans, not just players. Because that group session that you're referring to is the perfect point of like, so you're in your group, skills training, energy isn't right, stuff isn't there. The benefit that you get from let's just talk, let's break it down, is going to be 10 times as much benefit as you would just like pushing through it.
And I got to say this too, bro, on the pod. We need to stop calling these teams families because they're not families. Because if I get a DUI, I'm getting fired. We're not a family no more, are we? If we have a kid on the team who punches somebody in the face, he's getting kicked off the team, right? If it gets blown out of proportion, right? So that's what I say. Because now, especially, it's too much of a business now. It's too gaslighting for me. Like before, like now, even in high school, it's, yo, how many athletes can I recruit to win a state title, to look good? And it's not even, and then if I get them scholarships, great. Then it just keeps the kids coming. Am I wrong?
You're right. I don't know. Like, is your main issue that, so DUI kicked off the team?
No,
I'm cool, but like just don't call it family.
No, I just think it's a business. Let's treat it as a business. Like, especially now.
For sure.
Yeah, because I mean, if you don't give me my role that I want, I'm going in the portal and hopefully I can find my role, right?
Yeah.
Or if the coach says you ain't good enough, you better jump in the portal because we got somebody else coming. Like,
yeah.
So it really is a business, and especially now the kids are getting paid, which I'm happy they are. But then that comes with financial literacy too. Now you better know how to pay your taxes. like it's a whole deal. So I wish more and more people were using good people. And what I mean by that is now it's so business oriented, we're losing the essence of the game, in my opinion. Look at all the AAU programs. Like me and you talked about that on the phone. There's way too many AAU programs. Way too many AAU programs. Like, and the funny thing about it is all the coaches got so many egos. If they just put the top 3 teams together and made something special, they'd be all right. I mean, and to unpopular belief, St. Louis ain't got as much talent as Chicago and Atlanta. They don't. We don't. We got we got maybe 6 D1 dudes throughout the area, right? For the most part.
Right now?
No, right now we're loaded. But I'm just saying, on average, it's usually 6 to 10 D1 dudes, like throughout every class.
Yeah.
And then there's a big drop off.
I'm running through in my head. Yeah, I think you're right.
Or in fairness, let's say we got 24. Okay, that's 2 teams that could be elite, quote unquote elite. And for everybody that wants to know what the definition of elite is the top 1%. That's what elite means. So, and we're getting, the reason why I'm bringing that up is we're losing the development piece and the mentorship piece, the father figure piece, the stuff that really matters. Out of every one hooper, there's going to be 4,000 kids that don't make it. So why are we making it towards that one person over the 39.99?
Do you feel like kids should be playing sports year round?
No. Not till you're high school. Not till high school.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, because you burn those muscles out too. And you get burnt, like you said, you got burnt out. Like you get burnt out. And you're like, well, this ain't fun to me anymore.
Yeah.
There was a study that was shown that said if you play, like if you're in workout of play, you learn more with play than you do actual like asserted, like a workout in a sense.
Yeah. Free play.
Yeah. Free play. That's there we go.
That's a lost art, is free play. We're so quick to, a kid is in like 2nd grade and we're so quick to like, oh, we got to get a head start. So let me like get this individualized training and put him on a program and stuff. Just have him go hoop at recess.
Yeah.
He's in 2nd grade, you know?
I mean, but in how society's changing too, it's not like back in the day when you can go to a rec and go get a run with the old guys. And it's kind of like that, but not nowhere near what it was before. Because I could go to a run and play with Jared White, who played at SEMO, and it was tough. Like, he ain't playing in that run now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're all privatized. They all play amongst themselves. So like as a whole, it makes the product here in St. Louis worse, because if you just keep those elite kids to themselves, They don't bring those other kids up because they're not playing against them.
I've never thought about that. That's a really good point.
I was playing against Brad Beal at U City Rec. Like I played like seriously, like U City Rec. God bless. That was a run. That was a run, man. Those were fun. Those were fun runs. Yes.
That kind of goes back to a common theme we've touched on or alluded to a little bit, is like why the love for the game and like why you're doing it in the first place. Because I feel like, as you just said that, what went through my mind is like the love for the game would motivate you to just, okay, cool, you're a 4-star, you're going mid-major D1.
See,
but like,
we're missing.
just go hoop at the rec for the love of the game, you know?
Bro. What we're missing is that grittiness.
Yeah.
And I might have been guarding a whatever college kid, whatever. But when I was at Fort Hood, I had that mentality from playing in St. Louis. Like, you might be better than me, but you're going to get my best. And I'm going to do everything in the kitchen sink. You're going to figure it out because I'm not sweet. You know, but we're losing that mentality because we don't do that anymore. AAU has privatized it. If I lose, so what? I got 4 more games to go.
And they don't even do tournaments anymore. From what I've seen and when I was coaching on the AAU scene for a minute, it's not tournaments anymore.
I mean, you know why, right?
2020 is when it changed from my perspective.
But because it's more money. It's more money.
How does that work?
Because everybody feels good. Like, have you ever heard the term bad basketball makes money?
Yeah, there's a lot of money to be made from bad basketball.
Right? So, I mean, and that's basically what it is a lot of the teams there, they don't want to play against those elite teams. They just want to be in their little bubble and play against the teams they're supposed to, which makes sense. And they don't care about winning. They just want to play the games.
And so then you're saying that makes them want to come back to more tournaments, give them more money.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And you don't have to chase that money either. With them elite teams, you got to chase them.
What do you mean?
Meaning like, I got to chase Matt Irvin Fire to come down here. I got to chase. Yeah, I got to chase.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like, I can go get, regular Degler Afton team. Hey, come on with it. Or, Festus or whatever or South City. Hey, come on down and play.
Mm-hmm.
And your money's good here. So I think the money is messing it up too. Cause if it wasn't for the money, like when I went to junior high in Crystal City in this small town. And you know how many days we practiced? 5 days a week. Yeah, it was ran by the school. But CNR screwed it up by saying, hey, you get maybe two practices a week, right? Or you just get games. And it privatized it. So the schools didn't want the liability of having the teams. How many practices a week did you have in junior high?
In junior high?
Yeah. Do you remember?
Like 1 or 2. Oh,
for real? I guess it must be a small town thing. But yeah, like I wish there's not enough time in the gym. So in all honesty too, like social media messes it up too because there's just more things to do.
That is something I was going to come back to for a different point, but I want to stay on that. That is also...
I'm sorry, I'm ADD. I'll be all over the place.
Hey, now we're creating art. It goes a bunch of different places. That's how it's supposed to be. That's a very good point. Is, again, the free play idea. There's not too much of that because I feel like from what I see, kids, junior high, high school, even college, really, they're at practice, getting shots up at an individual workout in a game, or in school. If they're not doing those 5 things, they're on the game, on the phone.
Talking to girls.
Yeah. There's no
Kenny Smith made a really good point too to this. He said, yeah, this generation is individually more talented, but so was the Harlem Globetrotters. Like, okay, you know how to do all these moves and dribble but do you know how to play? Like, do you know how to play with a team? And I think that's what's getting missed is you learn how to communicate with people and play as a team within pickup. And it's free flowing to where you don't have a coach and whistles to where if you mess up, it's not that big of a deal.
And also in pickup, your team varies. Maybe it's game to game, day to day.
And you got to know how to play with each. Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. And I always say you get a role. Like when you first step into pickup, you don't get picked up because you're too young. And then from there, you finally get picked up by the best dude. And you know what he says? Pass me the ball. Okay, I'll pass you the ball. And then finally you get to a point where, okay, he trusts you enough to shoot a shot. And then you hit it. Okay. And you develop that. Okay, now I trust you to put the ball on the floor. And it's a thing, right? But now they don't do that.
And think about how similar that is to playing high school or college and a coach. You have to earn his trust.
Especially like a Jay Blossom or a college coach. Like any serious coach worth his salt is going to make you earn it.
Yeah.
It's not going to just happen overnight. Oh, you're the guy. You're going to run over that coach. If he just says you're going to come in and be the guy, what do you learn?
Nothing.
Because in college, they're not going to do that unless you're a top 100 kid, then you don't apply. But everybody else, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah. And then also with that pickup and social media is I feel like kids are sometimes afraid of getting embarrassed. Like it's a lost art to like, you mentioned like the kitchen sink, like grittiness, like going after somebody, locking them up. I feel like that's lost. In pickup, there's no like dog mentality for lack of a better word.
I think it depends on where you're at too.
Absolutely.
Because in Atlanta, you want to stay on that floor. In LA, you don't want to go nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean, or Chicago, I bet too. Like Joe tells me about those runs in Chicago. He's from the South Side, and they get to be like that too. So, I just feel like when I grew up, we said the youth is our future, so we have to take care of them. We don't do that anymore. We don't say that anymore. We just say, the kids are for themselves. We don't want to care about having a role model or have anything for them. They should be able to decipher by themselves.
That gets dangerous too because of social media.
And that's the problem, right? Like, whether you like it or not, if you have a platform, you have a responsibility. And a lot of people don't want to accept that. So, but anyway, yeah. So, but yeah, I wish more pickup was getting played because it would just make the games better. You got kids dribbling into three. I remember I did a few pickup runs last summer, and when we did that, kids are dribbling into three dudes and expecting a foul. I'm not giving you that foul, bro. Like, know the game. It's a kick out.
Yeah,
you're not getting that call. That's bad basketball. And really, if it was a real game, it'd be a charge.
Yeah. That's also what you don't get if you're just doing training, one-on-one, stuff like that, is like you have no idea of time and score, where the help defense is. It's not smart to dribble into three guys. But
give credit to Coach. I mean, we've been kind of ragging on Coach Blossom, but he's a Hall of Fame coach for a reason. Like, he demands excellence.
And let the record show I've not been ragging on him.
Oh, yeah, my bad. I was just saying he demands a lot. That's what we've been saying pretty much. Yeah, not ragging on him.
I would prefer it that way.
Okay. Oh,
that he's demanding.
Oh, and then the cool part is he knows the game. So it's like you're learning. So, I mean, as much as a college assistant would from playing for him.
Yeah. It really did feel like a college experience.
Oh, for sure. So... Yeah. And for real, like then, so you get a font bond, and I'm sure you're like, so what was that like? I'm sure a Blossom practice is probably harder.
By 20. Yeah.
Right? Like, so you get those, and certain people, like, this is just my opinion. You could argue with me. The best basketball coach of all time is Bobby Hurley.
Dan Hurley's dad. Okay.
Look him up. 50 NBA players, 300 Division I dudes.
Where did he coach
20 state titles, New Jersey.
Okay.
They beat Kyrie and them at St. Pat's. Kyrie Irving. Yeah, so anyway, long story, but he was like that. He was a cop in New Jersey, and he was a big demander, but he that's the common theme really with a bunch of really good coaches, Dan Hurley or whatever. They have an expectation, and would you meet the expectation? So if I was to train with you, what would be the expectation?
The expectation would be you're not afraid to mess up. You're open to trying new things, and you're ready to be challenged.
Okay.
Because my thing is, if you're shooting 90% in a workout, like, okay, cool, great. But then you get into a game, you have to learn how to face adversity. So it's going to challenge you.
Okay. So what does a workout look like with you? Do you mostly do it to the player? Do you do mostly shooting? Like how does it work?
Lots of decision making.
Okay.
So when I have groups, that's when I have the most fun because I can put them in different situations. So like a good example would be if I have 3 guys, I'll have offense on the wing, primary defender on their left hip.
I've seen that drill.
And then I've posted it a couple times.
Yeah.
And then the third guy is in help kind of at that ball side block.
So he's got to bump him before he gets to the block, I guess.
Attack downhill, and then the guy on the block is going to be sprinting
for the help
up. And then as he's sprinting up towards the wing, he's swiping at it.
Okay.
And so the guy with the ball is dribbling downhill, and he has to figure out a way to split the gap. Do I bring the ball over my head? Do I James Harden pick it up at my ankles? Do I cuff it across my waist? Like you said, is there a way I can bump my primary defender to kind of do my work early? So my idea is that's 10 times more effective than me having those 3 guys in a line and say, all right, guys, we're going to do our wrap above the head. Let's make 10 of them.
Okay.
Live defense, which brings challenge, brings failure, but that's part of the learning process.
I mean, don't let my chubbiness fool you on this podcast, because I'm looking at myself like, man, I got to do another 10.
It's the laptop camera.
I'm telling you, brother. But anyway, I love guarding them. Like that's my thing. Like I'm going to give you a scenario and go right at it. So, but I like having it too because you get tired as well too.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like my philosophy is we're going to pay attention and play hard. If we do those 2 things, it's life lesson stuff. Like we'll be okay. Like, and I heard this prep school coach. I use this all the time now. He said, "My prep school, we're not Walmart. It's a boutique. So you want to be a part of the boutique and go to college? Hey, Merry Christmas. But we do it our way here." And I remember. So Joe had just transferred to Harris Stowe. And he asked one of the guys on the team. He said, "Hey, have you worked out with Coach OG before?" He said, "Yeah, I have." And he said, "Did you like it?" And he said, "Man, you just can't go to him. Like you got to be prepared, like mentally prepared. Like you got to get a good night's sleep because he's going to demand a lot of you. You'll get better, but it's going to be a challenge." And that's how I like it.
And that's important too, because we're in this era of load management, which is important.
I think it's making people more hurt. If you look at the statistics, your body's not prepared to take the beating it needs to take for the 82 game season.
Yes, 100%. That being said, at some point you're going to have to push through a limit mentally, physically. In order to become better, you're gonna have to get past some adversity, which is kind of a common theme of this pod. But yeah, that's kind of the main thing is at some point there's going to be some adversity that you have to face. Yeah.
So back to my story. So I was after my 2 years at Voorhees, I was recruiting one time and I was talking to a D1 coach. Well, I was kind of ear hustling, to be honest. And a lot of the coaches I talked to.
Does that mean like eavesdropping?
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I like that. Yeah. I might steal that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so I was ear hustling him, and I always heard somebody either they weren't around for their kids or they were getting divorced. And I was like, I could have stayed in the military for that. Like, because it's your life. Like, because being a college coach, either you're getting hired or you're getting fired. Very rarely are you staying in a place. So you're either moving up or you're getting chipped out. So, and I was like, nah, that ain't it. So I went back to Atlanta for a while. And shout out to B. Cope. B. Cope played at Maryland Eastern Shore, which is a mid-major D1. Played at Turkey for a while. And I was, again, get you a camera. I was at a AAU tournament filming, and I met Boog, who played at South Carolina State. They had pro runs. I'm filming the pro runs, and the girl I was dating at the time, B. Cope, stayed right next to her. So, and from there, like, we just started getting content. He found out I could train, and I was nice, and so we started doing that. And I ended up filming Kevon Harris, who plays for the Magic right now. So it's just pretty cool.
Damn.
But anyway, yeah, Atlanta's a crazy place, man. But anyway, to make a long story long, I just wasn't happy. I was not happy. So I take it back to one of my favorite Bible verses. What is it to gain the whole world but to sell your soul to get it? What does it really mean to have all these material things if you're not at peace? What does it mean? We have all these things on Instagram. You have all these followers, but you're not bettering their life. You're not making an impact, right? So I knew I wasn't as close with my family as I had liked to be. So I went back home, and my mom, she was a little bit overweight. So I said, you know what? We're going to work out. And so I go there at 6:00 in the morning. She was like, I'm not going. Get up. We're going. And I always told her, love ain't lies. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to love you enough to be there for you in them hard times. Because regardless of what you think of how much money somebody has, my character always overweighs it. Because you find out who the real people are when you're at your lowest point. That's when you know who your real ones are. Because anybody could just come up and be like, yo, Coach OG, he's got 30,000 followers, man. I need to get on that train. But now it's, he has 0. He got his account took. Now what? Now what, right?
Yeah.
So I did that, and I started doing those open runs for a while. I'm kind of a free spirit in a sense. It's probably like the theme of the podcast. Like, I just wasn't afraid to try new things. And so I did that for a while. That was cool. And then I got the job at the VA hospital, and it's for veterans. So at the veteran hospital really was therapeutic for me because we're all crazy. So we all understood each other, like, on a deep level. Even the nurses are like, why? How can you relate to them so well? It's like, well, I mean, whether you're a Vietnam vet or an Afghanistan vet, like, we all went through kind of the same situation. So I'm working in hospice, and in hospice, for those that don't know, is when you go to transition to the next stage of life, aka die. So whenever you go, I'm looking around and people are screaming for help, like, for hours, just screaming for help. And it scared me. It scared me to death, to the point where I was like, Jesus, if you're real, I want to know. Because, and I had that kind of like the same thought process in Afghanistan, but you know how things go. The devil, he's a con man. He's always working. And the best thing the devil ever did was convince people that he wasn't real. It's the best thing he ever did. Mm-hmm. But anyway, long story short, I gave my life to him at that point. And I've been at more peace. I'm going to go real deep on you guys. I had suicidal thoughts for 3 years straight. And I'm watching this YouTube video. And as I'm watching this YouTube video, it's talking about casting demons out. And I'm like, all right, it's kind of weird, but all right, I'm checking it out. So as I'm checking it out, I say the prayer. I say that prayer to cast the demon out, and I'm saying Jesus' name, and I'm praying it. And to make a long story short, I haven't had a thought like that since. So for those, you can call me weird, whatever, but Jesus is real, and I know it. And if you don't, if I can't convince you, but just go ahead, just try the book one time. Just go ahead and try it and see what happens.
And so when you say he's real, mm-hmm. What is that to you? Is it something internally, a presence?
So the worst advice I ever was given was to follow my heart, because your heart is inherently evil. It says that in a good book. So we're supposed to take down our fleshly desires and put it on him and have him run our life. And that's hard to do because we all have pride. But you know why the devil got cast down from heaven?
Why? Pride.
Because he thought he was better than God. So, and now God, every day is, I don't know if you're familiar with this term, dying to your flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a bill that needs to be paid every day, no matter what.
And how do you go about dying to your flesh?
So I kind of like fought the military thing for a while, like that routine, but finally I just gave in. So you know what? I'm getting up at 4:30, working out. Like I just recreated that routine. So I did that. But when I wake up in the morning, I always read 15 minutes in the Bible and I pray. And I just give him the glory and I ask God to I don't want whatever he wants me to do and what mission he wants me on. I want him to do it for me, not me. Because once you think it's all you and you that sweet, yeah, get ready because you're going to need them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because I was on that high horse when I was in the military and I had them followers and I thought I was a big deal. Then what? Then it all went down. They'll say God will beat you to your knees till you come to him. And that's what happened. And now, so it's crazy. I was a college basketball coach, guys. And now I'm a janitor. And I'm happier being a janitor than I ever was as a college coach. And you'd be like, what? This guy's weird. Like, what? I'd be a college coach. That looks way better. Okay. I guess you don't want peace. Because I'll follow wherever my Lord and Savior wants me to go. Because I've done it my way. And it didn't work. You know who Pistol Pete Maravich is?
Mm-hmm.
He gave his life to Jesus Christ. And when he gave his life to Jesus, so he was kind of a free spirit type dude. Like he went to all these different faiths, like all of them. He tried Buddhism, Muslim. He tried it all. And he had an encounter with Jesus with his wife in the bed. And his wife thought he was nuts because he was like, oh, here he goes with another encounter. But no, he really gave his life. And he said, all the Porsches I done bought, all the championships I done won, all the points I scored doesn't amount to an inkling of what my salvation is with Jesus Christ. And that's cold, bro. Because he was doing the cross jab in 1967. Yeah. Like, think about that. Like in my opinion, he's the best ball handler of all time. If you compare him to his time, like wouldn't nobody go, wasn't nobody doing that back then. Earl Monroe, like very few dudes was. Mm-hmm. So, I'm a basketball nerd, so he averaged 44.1 points a game without a 3-point line. And if he would have had a 3-point line, would have been 58. Now it did help his dad was his coach, so he let it fly. But you know what I mean? But back to the Christianity piece, like God has saved me so many times in my life that and I used to think like my grandmother was big in church, but don't get caught up in Catholic, Presbyterian, Pentecostal. Don't get caught up. Just follow Jesus. Follow the book. And if you don't know something, pray on it.
And so you're saying follow Jesus, pray on it. And when you feel like a prayer has been answered or God is like guiding you in a direction, what is that? Is it like your internal thoughts?
Nah. So like you'll pray for something and he'll give it to you 5 years later. Like I said, I wanted to be a college coach, right? I got to be a college coach, but it wasn't the best situation as far as like me going to school and like having to go to this small college and like in the middle of nowhere. But he gave it to me. I said, hey, I want to be an influencer. I did that for a little bit. But here's the problem. You can't take the blessing and then not glorify him because he'll take it away. And that's what happened. He was giving me all these blessings. Man, I'm talking, I got so many stories from Atlanta, just like the journey he's put me on. It's got to be God. Like Darrell, he put me in that diabetes all-star game with Gigi Jackson and them. He flew in the top 25 kids in every class from 8th grade on up. And anyway, so Mario Ellie, do you know who that is? 90s Hooper, played for 17 years. He's there. He's coaching. So I'm looking around like with my little camera. Again, get your camera. He goes right there, man. Hey, what's up, man? And you know how I can chop. I'm like, me and him are chopping it up. You know who Jody Meeks is?
Yep.
So Jody Meeks is right there. Like, he's right there, and me and like right around where that window is. Me and Mario chopping like hella hard. I'm asking him about how it was to play with Jordan or play against Jordan, because he played with Elijah Wan and them on them NBA Finals teams. So Jody Meeks is trying to get on the convo, and I'm like, and me and him were still rapping. Like, so, but if it wasn't for God, like, I wouldn't have been there. So it's just so fulfilling now. And you feel alone when you don't. I felt alone when I didn't have him. I felt like I didn't have anybody to depend on.
I heard someone talk about that loneliness for men specifically. Kind of, I forget what age. It was like a specific age group. 20 is somewhere in their 20s, where like there's a lot of men who sometimes get those like suicidal thoughts, like you were saying. And what they don't realize is it's not necessarily your flesh that you're wanting to die. It's your soul, your whatever you want to call it. And so then, to your point, that becomes like a pivotal period, because then, I mean, you could go one way, but then also you could go a different way of kind of transforming who you are.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what.
Do you know who Omarion Henry is?
Mm-mm.
You don't know who Omar is? Omar, he played at Normandy, and he graduated, I think, a year after you did.
Okay.
And he was a D1 guy. He plays at University of New Orleans now. I think he's in the portal. I don't know where he's going, but I remember he hit me on Instagram. He was like, "Man, you totally rebranded yourself. I got tattoos, and you know what I mean? Like, I totally kind of changed. I lost weight at the time, and I'm still trying to lose weight. You know, it's a daily struggle, but regardless, yeah, he said I totally changed." And I got this tattoo, and it says, my favorite Bible verse, 1 Corinthians 13:11. When I walked as a child, I talked as a child, I reasoned as a child. But when I became a man is when I put away my childish ways. So don't be afraid to put away basketball. Don't be afraid to put away things that you already know, because God has something bigger for you. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. And then I seen, have you seen A Bronx Tale? Must see TV, bro. It's a movie.
Okay.
Anyway, it's a mob movie, and in the mob movie, there's this little kid. He goes up to the mobster, and the mobster says, "Hey, you know, you like the Yankees?" Because it's based in New York. He's like, "Yeah, I love Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle, man. There's one guy, he made the Mick cry." And the mobster goes, "If your rent was due, you think Mickey Mantle would pay your rent?" And that's when I stopped caring about sports. LeBron don't know who I am. Michael Jordan don't know who I am. So why do I care?
So do you like watch hoops anymore?
No.
Really?
It's funny, right? I don't. Like, I watch it like if it's in a social setting, but like on my own, no. Yeah. And I think it comes back to the Bible verse. God is kind of changing me, and there's not, you got to go with the ebb and flow of it.
Yeah.
I got my mentor, Maurice Horton. Cold. He played for Benny Lewis. You don't know who Benny Lewis is, do you? It's okay. Benny,
you know so many names and schools, and
I'm telling you, bro, I'm a nerd. My dad was a varsity basketball coach, and I just knew it. So Reese played with Conzo Martin.
I know Conzo.
There we go. Right, he played with Zoe at East St. Louis Lincoln for 1 year, and they went and played for Benny. Where am I going? Oh, and he was just he gave his life to Christ, and he read. If you want to get closer to God, you need to read. I'm drawing a blank. The Purpose Driven Life. You need to read it.
I've heard about that book.
It's a must. A Purpose Driven Life. And it kind of makes you go through those questions of, why are we here? And what are you here for? And those are those big ones. And he put me onto that. But he's the one who taught me how to jump rope and boogie and learn how to sell. You drop the shoulder when you come here. And he had this one drill where you would literally carry, and you keep the ball right here and carry with it and just wiggle back and forth. And because in the game is fast, so and that's how his breakup game is crazy. He's 51 years old and still got a crazy handle, like, and he still shows it on. I'll show it to you after this. And but yeah, he's the one. And what, like, I hate when I see them people with the megaphone outside and they're preaching the gospel, because the people that made me want to come to Christ were cool as a fan, like Reese. He's a cool customer, man. Like, I was like, but he'll say it. I ain't cool because of me. It's because of God. When I was in Afghanistan, one of the coolest dudes on the base played D1 basketball. Me and him was best friends. Christian. Yeah, like, you know, it's funny how that works, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny how prayer. So I didn't really test God on prayer till I started really praying this past couple months, like dedicating myself to pray. And the people around me that I was praying for started to change. And it was the spookiest thing ever. And that's like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how powerful he is.
Yeah, there's definitely things that, like, you can't really explain. It's God, you know?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, you see it even in the Olympics. That one track star, or the track person, she just won her race today. She gave her glory to God, and they didn't put that out.
They, you know who, here's a name for you.
CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm hip. Yeah, I'm hip to it. Yeah, so I think now it's just, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And I'll never denigrate my faith to anybody, but I'm also not going to push on anybody either. But it's going to get to the point where you're going to have to.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think in this age of social media, everyone has a platform.
They don't need one.
Everybody can share their opinion, and there's different, no matter, take any single event that happens. There's in sports, politics, rap, there's an argument for it. There's an argument against it.
I was talking to somebody, and they were saying, like, 50 years ago, people didn't talk about politics like this. Like, they didn't. Like, they were so busy doing other things, and it wasn't the forefront of their mind. But now we have this 24-hour news cycle where it's just every little thing, and people could tweet about it and talk about it. Or X, God bless. But you get my point. Like, you can just talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't think our brain. They always talk about we have all this information. Too much. I think we have too much information. Our brain can't take it all. It's too much.
It's too much. And if it sedates you in a way, if you're thinking about taking action towards a goal or whatever it is.
Yep.
There's so much information. What's the best way to go about it? What's the best diet? What's the best way to work out? What's the best shooting drill to do? Just do it and figure it out, you know?
So who do you study training wise?
TJL Training out in Boston.
I never heard of him, actually. I guess I'm getting older. Go ahead.
Him and then Coleman Ayers of By Any Means Basketball.
I like him
in Miami.
Yeah. I like him a lot. Yeah, he does some good stuff.
So they combined.
He does rhythm stuff. A lot of rhythm stuff that I like.
Yes.
Yeah.
They had a retreat, a trainer's retreat out in Lowell, Massachusetts. I slid to that about a year ago. So I chopped it up with them, learned with them. There's him, and then a guy named Alex Sarma out in the UK.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Cool.
I'm gonna age myself, man. Like, back in the day in 2011, like right before I joined the Army, I bought a Gannon Baker DVD. And you had to buy DVDs, and I bought the Gannon Baker set because I was trying to still kind of play college basketball, right? So I did that. Michael Lancaster was big too. That's who I like. But it's funny. Michael Lancaster was a disciple of Gannon Baker, so he worked under Gannon Baker.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Him, and then I was a big PJF guy. I like that. I liked him too.
PJF is on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. So
trainers today making content,
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dribble Too Much. Dribble Too Much was huge back then. Like, if you're talking about content wise,
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's funny. So Michael Lancaster,
and And I'm not a big fan of his stuff now. Like, I like it a little bit.
He's kind of out there.
Go ahead.
And it has some merit to it. I can see where he's coming from. But depending on who's looking at it, it's easy to see his stuff and like, bro, what are you doing? When you first like tapped in with him, what were your thoughts on it?
I liked a lot of it actually at first. I mean, you got to think about it. When I first started training, bro, I'm cone man shorty over here. Like, you know what I mean? I'm doing nothing but cone drills. I ain't know nothing about footwork. Like, and as I grew as a trainer, I knew like, okay, you know, I always say every step you make is a move. So that means so I can counter. So every step you step, it's all a dance, right? So when I first started training, Future was hot. So I say 1, 2, 3, yeah. It's the same thing. 1, 2, 3, yeah. It's the same thing. So anyway, I got that a lot, and I was doing a workout in San Antonio. It was the assistant UTSA, Alex Hood. Now he's at Central Florida, but UCF. But anyway, so I'm doing this workout in front of him, and I'm, you know, Instagrammed out. We're doing 3-move combos with a step back, and we're doing all these things, right? So after the workout, he pulls me to the side. He said, "Hey, man, come here." I said, "What's going on? What's up, coach?" He said, "How many times do you think a step back happens in a game?" I said, "I don't know. Steph Curry, James Harden, they all do it, right?" He said, "Well," he's a big analytics dude, too. He said, "We do more one-dribble pull-ups more than anything else. Like, I want you to work on that." And then he showed me, he's like, the business decision thing. So he said, "You take a step, right? So view this." He said, "All right, bet. So this right here is a leg, right? So as you see the leg, you got two decisions. Either I'm gonna blow past you and grab, I'm gonna blow past you, or you're gonna try and cut me off and you going on a tape, and I'm going. But I'm reading feet." And I took that from him. And I learned when I worked one of the best shooting camps. It's not around anymore, unfortunately, but did Baumgartner's camp. If you were a hooper, you went to that camp. Like, as far as like, it was fun because you in the morning you did your free throws, skill and drill, game. Lunch, skill and drill, game. Dinner, skill and drill, game. Like, and that's what you did. But anyway, I learned from a coach there. I ended up working at camp. He said, whenever you go to a camp, you want to get two things. You want to build a connection and a drill. Each camp, just build one connection and one drill that you can take away. And then he also said, coach with as many coaches as you can because you want to learn as much as you can. Because at first, I was a big pack line man-to-man guy. And then now I can see the merit in sending baseline. It's just harder to teach as far as help side stuff with younger kids. But that's why I like 3-2 zone, because you can start off in 3-2 zone and it's still your man-to-man principles within pack line, in a sense.
Yeah.
So...
No, that's definitely facts, like exposing yourself to as many different ideas and ways of thinking about the game, because it's easy to have your way and stick to it. And then you get exposed to something else, and maybe you don't do a complete 180, but maybe there's bits and pieces you take here, take here.
And I'm going to say this too. You have to know your personality as a coach. Like, I have an A-type personality, as you can kind of tell. So I'm not a good assistant in a sense, because like I'm very like, here's you can tell me if I'm wrong, but any good team I've been around, the assistants are always cool, but the head coach is not a very nice person, because he has to be. That's just how it goes. You have to be a leader. It's not likership, it's leadership. You know what I mean? So anyway, now as I coach a little CNR team for my brother Adam, who's here. And man, we're fun, man. We didn't practice not one time, but they're really good soccer kids. They're Scott Gallagher kids. We're running and jumping and doing well at it. Like, and these teams practice all the time. And I'm teaching them. I drew up a play. This is why it's fun to coach like good kids, like at least not good talented kids, but just good people. So I said I drew up stack. We did it to a T. No practice. So I think, but anyway, regardless, I think you should know your personality, and if you're recruiting even at the high school level, you might be able to coach a kid that your head coach can't. And that's hard, because you're like, man, if I was the head coach, right? Because I'm one of them coaches. I'm a big motion guy. So I don't like running plays. I don't. Let's run motion. Let's curl, flare, slip. Let's read the defense. Now, I like what Kim English said. Kim English is the head coach at Providence now, I think. You know who that is?
Sounds familiar. I've heard the name.
He played
before.
at Mizzou.
Okay.
I beat him in horse for the record. I did. It was a Mizzou camp. Then he scarred me the next year. I was like, you remember when I beat you? Nah. Oh, okay. But anyway, true story. So, and then I ended up running into him recruiting when he was at George Mason. But anyway, long story short, what was I saying? God bless. About knowing people's.
Sometimes the head coach, as an assistant, you can coach the.
Yeah. So I mean, it just you got to know what your personality is, and it sucks because you want to be able to be the head coach, but you got to pay your dues.
Yeah,
you got to pay your dues, and that's just part of it. Like, and that's what the real reason why I got out of college coaching was I talked to a D2 head coach, and he's talking about how they only get 1 or 2 paid assistants. And he basically was telling me it's going to take you about 6 years to really get paid. And I didn't have it in me. I didn't have it in me. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I mean, certain people, like, they got... And I had a fear of getting to the end of it and realize that this wasn't it.
To then devote all that time to...
And then realize... To get to the mountaintop and realize this is it.
Yeah.
AKA, what is it to gain the whole world but to sell your soul to get it?
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't watch basketball unless it's in a social setting.
Right. I mean, my college coach, I ain't gonna say which one, but he said, I don't really watch any games either. Unless it's like somebody we got to play against, or like, because you watch it so much, it's like,
yeah.
Like, if you hear them old guys, they're like, I forgot more basketball than you know. Like, you know what I mean? I've been watching basketball since I came out the womb. Like, my dad was a big motion guy. He had all those Hoosier motion principles from Bob Knight. Like, Bob Knight was like 90% of Indiana runs Hoosier motion because of Bob Knight. Like, he kind of created that. Now, Dean Smith in North Carolina, he did a lot of that stuff as well.
So what's like a day in the life now? The new...
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I wake up, like I said, 4:30, go to the gym, work out. I do a push-pull leg split it's like a bodybuilding split. If y'all want to look up range of motion stuff, I'll send this to you because it's really good. Marv Marinovich, he did the concepts for the NFL Combine, and it's really good. I can tell, like, when I shot my first jump shot, with all the range of motion, I was like, I feel like I'm 18 again. You know what I mean? Like, just the range of stuff. So I do that. I work at the VA hospital Friday through Tuesday. It's a weird schedule. And then I go to barber school Wednesday and Thursday. So.
What made you get into barber school? And when did you do that?
I just like the camaraderie of it. You know, you're talking noise, you know, hey, about basketball or whatever. When I first came in there, I'm the best hooper in the shop. Just letting everybody know that. Like, and it's a cool camaraderie. So I just wanted to see if I like it. And the biggest takeaway I want people to take from this podcast is don't be afraid of change. Because I've been changing my whole life and it ain't going to stop. And we were talking about it off camera. With AI, you're going to have to change. So you better change now. So barber, it's going to be a long time before AI can cut somebody's hair, right?
So you're in a good spot.
Yeah, or like that's why I think, like I don't know about you, it might be with you too, but in my generation, you got looked at as a loser if you didn't go to college.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I was kind of the beginning of there's new different opportunities.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and now trade school is booming.
Yeah. And now it's times 10 because you got social media and YouTube, and I could be an influencer and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a new time, new opportunities. So
yeah,
you never know what might come your way. So it's definitely, if you're like afraid of change.
And I remember I was listening to a sermon and they said Jesus never ran, he walked. So since he walked, you have to be patient and go at a walking pace. And I think for me, I wanted it to happen when I cried my eyes out when I turned 30 years old. I'm 31 years old because A, I didn't think I'd make it. And then B, I had put so much pressure on myself. I got to do this by this. And it's got to happen. And if it don't happen in this time, I got to move around. Stay the course and be patient. And it happens when it's supposed to. And if it don't, anything that bad has happened in my life, you know how I take it? God was protecting me from something.
Yes.
And he always does.
I saw a quote, something along the lines of like you have no idea what mistakes you just avoided.
Yeah.
When something doesn't go your way, when you don't get the bag or whatever, the next opportunity, you have no idea what mistakes you avoided.
Yeah, 100%. Like even for me, like I was thinking about it, like what made me join the military? I didn't have much self-worth. I was like, well, I ain't got nothing else to lose. Like, and there was a Tupac song I liked a lot. It was Find Something to Die For. If you can't find something to live for, it's time to find something to die for. And that was the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and now I listen to Christian rap and like, you know, I'm I'm more into that sector, but yeah, I had to look at it like, man, anytime I got on my high horse about things, like I'll never get fat or I'll never do that. Well, I did. I did a lot of those things. So don't get too on your high horse because God has a funny way of humbling us.
Do you have books that you like to read?
Oh yeah, David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. Zig Ziglar, See You at the Top. If you don't know who Zig Ziglar is, he Amway, one of the best salesmen of his generation. Must read. The Bible, obviously. If you want to read like the game of the Bible, like the wisdom is Proverbs with Solomon. That's really good. The Book of John and all the Gospels, of course. Like how dope Jesus is. A little game on Jesus. Jesus was the best leader of all time. Why? Because he led by example. He didn't tell you anything to do unless he did it himself. He died on the cross for us. So whenever we're like, oh, this sucks, he died on the cross for you to be here right now. So take that with a grain of salt. What other books do I like? Tim Grover, Relentless. That was a great book. My mom was an English teacher, AP English teacher, and I wasn't a good reader back in the day. So what we would do is, she would give me the movie because she knew I wouldn't read the book, and I passed the test off every movie because she knew how to get it because she was an English teacher.
Facts.
Yeah, but now it's funny that reading opened up my mind to so many things because I viewed myself as dumb. And when I started to read, I realized I wasn't dumb. And it was just a lie I was telling myself.
So you got like a confidence about yourself.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's part of the problem with our kids today. None of them read.
No.
None of them read.
It was like 3 or 4 years ago, but I went through a big phase where I'm not touching a book. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, you're still young. As a young man, I wouldn't. What? I'm going to the club, bro. You know what I mean? Like I'm going out. Like now I'm a homebody, but I heard Russell Simmons say that too. I like midnight. I like morning meditation more than I like midnight drinking. But anyway, yeah. But as a young man, I was out here. You get Thursday night, you go out, get drunk out of your mind, and then Friday morning you have your 5-mile battalion run, and just don't puke, and you're good. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how you did it. But just embrace your stages too. Like, don't be afraid. Like, because in the age of social media, you're afraid to be vulnerable. Like, I was vulnerable on this podcast, but hopefully, you know that Coach Carter, that quote, and he goes, "You're not, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate."
Powerful beyond measure.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Well, part of that quote, he says, "Let your light shine," so it gives other people permission to do the same. So don't be afraid to be vulnerable. I mean, obviously don't be a sucker either and do it and get got. But like, you know what I mean? As far as like, no, if you can help somebody, help somebody.
Yeah. Like the, with your guys, when it was, Mental Health Wednesday.
That's right.
You were the first one. You led by example, set the stage for everyone, being vulnerable. So then they were more comfortable.
Yeah, man, those are good times, man. I had a Chevy Cobalt, my grandfather's old Chevy Cobalt, and we didn't have a lot of equipment. So I literally would put my car in neutral and they would push my car. Like I was crazy. Like I'd have them push my car. I got pictures of it too. Or I'd do the band work. We do so in the Army we had the company setup. So what the company setup is you wrap your arms with everybody and you'd have to go down and do a setup. Well, in the Army we'd only have to do like 30 of them. Well, you know where I'm going with this. Well, let's times that by about 3. Let's do 100. So, and they'd be like, man, this is BS. They'd be whining. And finally, and I'm fat. I'm bigger than I am now. I was 270 then. I said, okay, I'm going to get down with you. And we start 1, boom, 2, boom. And I did 100 with them, and I kept going. And the biggest thing is mindset is huge. If your mind, like the cat from East St. Louis, Maurice Horton, he always said, John, like, you might not be an elite player, but you got an elite mindset. Like, so, because every time I went to the gym, I had my Pistol Pete workout. Boom, I had all my workouts. Because back then we didn't have none of this. Like, you had and one kind of influenced the culture that we have now. Mm-hmm. Because back then, doing all this boogie, like all the 3 and 4 moves, that was frowned upon when I was coming up. You couldn't do none of that. Like you got one. If you did 1 or 2 moves and you didn't give it up, you getting subbed. So think about that. Like,
kind of the opposite now.
Yeah, it's almost too much dribble, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So would you ever wanted to get into high school coaching?
I coached at DeSmet
for a year,
for 2 years. I don't think I would go back. It's nothing about just high school in general. Coaching in general, I wouldn't go back.
It's just so hard, bro. Because like you'll have 1 or 2 kids that really want it, and then the other kids are just out there for fun. And I don't do business like that either. We're all in, and social media messed that up too. Because if you were the 9th, 10th, 11th dude on the team, like a Webster team or like a good team, you mattered. Like you mattered. Like maybe not to like the fans or people watching, but like practice, you were a part of that team. Well, now it's not cool to do that anymore. Yeah, I ain't playing, man. Why am I? I'll go play football or I'll go do something else instead of being a part of that team.
Yes,
and I think that's what's really missing, because now it's just so, well, let's just team up here and go there, and then if I don't get the minutes I want, I'll go somewhere else, and it's never a fight through adversity, right? It's always the me.
Yeah. And
then if you have a society of me, then what?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it's been a cool, like being a coach for 10 years. It was a cool experience. And I'm not done coaching. I might still keep coaching. Like I'll coach 2 CNR teams, maybe turn them into AAU teams. We'll see. I work the weekends, so it's kind of hard, but
you're coaching now.
Yeah. I coach my little CNR team. We're really good. Like, cause I yell and I'm a demander, but them kids play hard, and I love. For newsflash, for anybody that thinks trying to play for fun, winning is fun.
Super fun.
Winning is fun. Losing is not fun. Like that's like I'm competitive. So, but anyway, those kids play so hard, and we're running and jumping, and we're getting after people, and that's what it's about. Like I don't care about coaching. Like when I was younger, I wanted to coach the best kids. The best kids are the biggest headaches. I don't want to coach them kids. Give me the mid-tier kid who's going to work hard, and we'll fight and punch him in the mouth, see what happens.
Yeah.
I'll take that kid all day.
Yeah. That you can develop and then maybe get to that level.
For sure. I mean, and you could talk about that too as far as training-wise. You know how many coaches claim they produce kids but coach them for like a year or 6 months or whatever it is and say they're the reason why they blew up? Like,
yeah. That whole thing is...
That's my guy.
Tricky.
That's my guy,
bro. Because there's just so much that goes into a player being good that
it's a village. Like I always tell kids, like, train with as many, just like the coaching advice I got, train with as many trainers as possible, because most trainers have 3 workouts they do, and that's it. It's very cookie cutter for the most part. You know what I mean? And then for real, it's like, okay, I go to the rec and learn that. Now, the techniques of how to do certain things, yeah, but the self-starters, the ones that are going to be successful in life, period. Not the let me wait for me to tell you to do something. Like if I came to one of your training sessions and it was like kind of low key, I'm gonna jump in. I'm here. You know what I mean? Like that's it's innate in me.
I've found myself, for me, the version of that is time on task, time in between reps. I get really antsy.
As I'm telling you,
I want stuff to go, man.
Because that's how it was for me and my head coach. He called it out. If you didn't get to the drill, because I don't know if he blossomed this for you, but my head coach would have the practice plan lined out. We knew exactly what was going on.
Same.
And if you didn't know the quote of the day, it was bad news bears.
Same. Quote of the day. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I think that's what helped me in my coaching career. Like I took the most of my coaching stuff from my godfather because of how intense he was. I don't know how he wasn't in the military because of how intense it was. And then what was cool was, do you know who Alex Barnett is?
No.
Okay. Alex Barnett played at Dartmouth around when Jeremy Lin was at Harvard.
Okay.
Well, anyway, he went to Cardinal Ritter. And DeBerg beat Cardinal Ritter twice his senior year. Yeah. I mean, and then JV and all. Like, and then Devin Dace, that was Devin Dace's sophomore year, the guy I was telling you about who transferred to Webster Groves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Huh.
And Devin was cold, bro. He ended up playing at Rhode Island basketball, football. Then he just went football, played arena football, and now he's a cop here in St. Louis.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm a nerd when it comes to that. I can remember all that. I remember Alex Barnett got player. You know how you get player of the week, KMOV player of the week?
Okay.
Yeah, and we beat him that day. So they were like upset there. But nah, it was cool to be around all that, the Southside basketball. Like I was at the early out games for DeBerg St. Mary's, and I was at when St. Mary's and DeBerg had an all out brawl. Like I was there. Like, it was awesome.
When was that?
2003. I'm a little kid. Okay. It's like 10 years. I'm 10 years old, and I'm seeing all this.
Damn.
It was sweet, man. Yeah, I mean, and that's what built up those rivalries. But it's the same mentality. We had the same mentality as Webster Groves. Tougher team wins.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, you can call us dirty all you want. That's fine, but you're gonna go to war. It ain't gonna be sweet.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's missing with a lot of the mid tier teams is they might not have been as good, but you're gonna feel them. You're gonna know they're here. But now so many kids just let down.
Yeah, we got so many wins just playing harder.
Yeah. I mean, I ain't gonna hold you. That Webster Groves tournament, we got kind of screwed over when I was at Confluence.
What year?
Cam Bevel's sophomore year. So you were still playing there. I think I might have coached against you, to be honest.
Really?
It was 29. No, it was 2020. It was
okay.
20. It was 20.
I would have been out of there.
Oh, okay, cool. But yeah, so we're playing. We beat Staley. We beat Staley, and they lost like 4 games that year, and we were one of them.
Damn.
Yeah, but anyway, we were playing Webster Groves, and we're winning like off and on. It's a heated game. Like we're going back and forth, and we're playing really well. And I guess we're up 4 with a minute and a half to go. Turn it over twice and lose. So, but it was a lot. I think we were up 10 at one point, but then the whistles got involved. So, but it's cool though. But being a college coach taught me so much because when I was a college coach, when you're on the road, you do not get any calls at all. So, like now, when I coach now, I never complain to the refs, not one time. So, because I know I'm not going to get a call, I just expect So now I take it on me. How can I outcoach this situation?
Yeah.
Which not a lot of coaches do. They just complain at the refs and now I can tell you're not a good coach. To me. At
first, I never understood why coaches complain because, like in my head, it was, well, it already happened, so complaining about it isn't going to do anything. But then I kind of,
if it happens multiple times, then I get that. But
yeah, because then I started to kind of see the reasoning behind it of like refs are humans too. So as a coach, if I'm talking to him, the ref is thinking, oh damn, he's kind of like on my head about it. and it may affect a call in your favor.
Oh man, you know what I do when I talk to them referees when I coach? I always ask them, hey, how much do you get paid? $30 a game. Ain't enough, buddy. I couldn't do it. Appreciate you, man. Like they could say $50 a game. You know what I tell them? Not enough, buddy. I couldn't deal with that. Like all them parents getting on you for no reason. Like, and then not how the climate of basketball is now. You got parents fighting people now, fighting referees.
They get a little too comfortable.
Yeah, right. Like it's bananas. So yeah, man. So like, what's been the biggest takeaway for you in just in basketball period? Like, if you had one life lesson, what would it be?
In my whole basketball career,
or give me a top 3. That's cool.
Playing and training.
Yeah, or anything.
A life lesson. I mean, I would say the number one thing was from Webster and those practices, and that the mental toughness that you needed to get through a practice, to get through a season, to get through 4 years of that. For me, having just my personal experience for those 4 years, having gone through that, I know I can get through anything else.
Okay.
The rest of my life is easy. I know that no matter what life throws at me, I'm going to have the figure it out ability.
Yeah, that's right.
To mentally be tough and get through it.
So
what about you?
Me working in hospice, I always ask this question: what's the best advice you ever been given, or what would you do differently at 30 years old? Because they're mostly 78 years old.
Yeah.
So some funny ones. One was take the shit out your ears and put it in your mouth. That one was funny. I like that one.
What does that mean?
Take the shit out your ears and put them in your mouth. So listen.
Stop talking. Listen. Gotcha. Okay.
So that, you know what I mean, obviously, but one, it was a 98-year-old World War II vet. He said, go to trade school. That's what he said. Or, he said, one said, never go to bed with your wife angry.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah. But yeah, coaching wise, I think more or less like the coaching wise period, it just taught me what it meant to be a leader of men.
Yes.
And having to do that within a household if you want to have a family, and how to manage a household. Now, everybody's households are different, but you got to still know how to manage it.
That is something that I've gotten from training is I can see so many parallels from coaching and training to being a husband, being a father. There's expectations. You either coach it or allow it.
That's right.
Stay true to your word. If you say something, you have to follow through with it, or else the respect your players or children or wife have for you kind of go down a little bit. Maybe
That's
not
right.
a bunch,
Yeah.
but and then just caring for people and like learning who they are as people, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely there's so many parallels between coaching and training and like raising a family.
If you could live anywhere, where would it be besides St. Louis?
Probably as far as like state or country, I don't know, but somewhere
in the States.
In the States?
In the States. Like if you had to start a basketball business there, where would it be?
All right, well, that's a different question.
Yeah, I mean, like if you had to pick your life up and go there and start over, you know what I mean, where would you go?
Somewhere in Texas.
Why Texas?
Not much taxes that I have to pay.
Oh, there you go. Okay. I miss them days. Yeah, I lived in Texas.
Yeah.
No, but they got these toll roads. And toll roads add up quick.
Yeah. I mean, if it was for basketball or something, I could get the Texas scene popping. But if it was just for like life and stuff,
nah, that's already been popping, bro.
Texas?
Dallas and Houston's been on the map, dude. Like now, Central Texas, where I wasn't, but Dallas and Houston, they got players.
Okay, so you're a well-traveled person.
Yeah.
If you could live anywhere, where would it be?
I still go back to Atlanta.
Okay.
Well, if I could, so some people literally they vacation to Atlanta and just say screw all their stuff and move there like on a whim. But I've seen that when I went to LA that one time. I got that type of vibe at LA too, though. Like it's a vibe. Like even though there was homeless people next to the beach, it was still a vibe. So one place I don't like though is the East Coast. Just because me personally, it's so many people in a small area that ain't my bag. Like I want to be spaced out a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's why I like Atlanta, because it might have a lot of people, but it's still somewhat spaced out.
And then have you been to Atlanta since they built OTE?
Yeah, I've been there.
Okay.
That's so the diabetes all-star game that I was telling you about with Gigi Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, overtime.
So you've been in the facility and
it's beautiful.
Looked around. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I've never been, but I've just seen pictures.
Yeah. And that's important. Like what aggravates me about St. Louis basketball culture as a whole is we don't work together. Like in Chicago, to get a Chicago player, you got to have a Chicago coach on your staff. Somebody from there. Same thing with Atlanta. If you want an Atlanta kid, you better have somebody from Atlanta on that staff, or you're not getting them.
For AAU or college?
No, college.
Gotcha.
So we don't have enough now. It's starting to become more and more St. Louis high school coaches becoming college coaches, which is good. I mean, Tone just took the job in Mineral area, which is awesome.
Yep.
What do you think about that? Do you think Vashon's going to reload?
Yeah, man. I mean, because they're bringing in probably McKinney as their head coach.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm old enough to remember this now. When Floyd was there, and Floyd, guess who replaced Floyd?
Oh,
Anthony Bonner. You know who that is?
Yep.
Anthony Bonner played in the league, and that didn't work. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying. I mean, they had Duck and Leon Powell. Like they had some hoopers, but you get my point. Like after 1 or 2 years, he left, and then it just went down. So I think as long as Jimmy's there, it'll be all right. But we'll see. Because
that's still an alumni. He was an assistant for a minute, so the culture is still intact, I feel like.
I hope so. I mean, because that's the last city school that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say that. I mean, Soldan with Chunk, they were good at one point, right? CPA, we were decent, but like not like we were a third tier team. Like we weren't like we beat all like the mediocre teams, but when we play comp, like we would be in games, but we just couldn't get over the hump for whatever reason. So I think Carden Ritter would be good. Well, Carden Ritter always reloads just like Vashon always reloads. So, but we were having this discussion when I was in Atlanta with Coach Huff and him, my college coach. He said we're arguing about summertime, and you preach development, but in the summertime, all we do is play games. How are you learning? So why aren't we doing more practices and showing our concepts and actually teaching? So I was like, that's a thought, right?
Yeah. I would argue you're learning, but you're not necessarily improving.
I think like, and them coaches, for the record, that say, yo, I did really good in the summertime. Everybody plays everybody in the summer. So like, as far as their whole bench, so like, I don't really count the summer as far as, but anyway, I wish more and more people would just teach the game, bro. But the problem is I wish basketball would adopt how soccer's done it. How soccer does it is you have to have a certificate to coach 15U soccer. You have to have a certificate to coach 13U soccer, and you go up like so. Basketball is so free for all. As long as you got $300 and some jerseys, you're all right.
And that gets sketchy real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick. And it just becomes this constant cycle of, in some situations, it's the blind leading the blind, because you get a coach, whatever the situation is, they look up on YouTube, different player development drills, different plays, and they just copy that. And there's, like you said, there's no real barrier to entry to like, okay, maybe you know the X's and O's, but how good are you at relating to players, to creating buy-in, to creating a culture?
Well, coaches don't even know X's and O's. I'll say it. How many coaches know X's and O's? Like I could run flex, and most coaches don't even know flex anymore. You know what I mean? Like, or if I'm playing a 2-3 zone, I didn't even have any plays lined up. Like, I'm playing these teams and they're zoning us, right? It's not hard, fellas. Here's how you beat a 2-3 zone. You put somebody at the high post, and then you have a baseline run. 3-2 zone. You put a big on that block right here, and you have a baseline runner, and you screen the bottom of the zone. You got a wide open shot. You know what I mean? Like, so I mean, I obviously it's not a play, but you just have to know the game, right?
The concepts.
Yeah. And that's why I would rather teach the concepts than plays.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, and now it's a whole lot of kids playing, like doing plays, and they don't know why. They used to drive me crazy as a college coach. We would run through the plays and not show where the kids would get their shots. So I'm like, we're just going over it to go over it. Like what are we looking to get out of this?
Yeah.
Who is this for? Yeah. Like, so, you know, that would bother me, but it is what it is. Like, it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, like, now, like, I definitely want to, I'm getting more and more exciting with coaching, because my dad, he always told me that. He was like, you want to be around good people. And I was like, all right, whatever. I want to be around the best kids, right? When you're younger. But now as I'm older, I want to be around the best good kids.
Yeah.
Because those are the kids who have long-lasting relationships with.
That's the key.
Yeah.
And that's like the Bible verse that you brought up. Like, but what good is it?
Yeah, what is it? What good is it to sell your soul? What is it to gain the whole world, but to sell your soul to get it?
Yes.
Yeah.
What good is it to work with the best players just for the sake of working with the best players? I'd rather build quality relationships.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just so transactional now, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why I was so happy you told me to get on the pod, because I was like, cool, you know, like, and I always thought you were good people anyway, but
same.
It's cool, man. And I, how old are you now, man?
23.
Oh man, I mean, I wish I would have known what I know back then, what I know now, right? Like, just stay the course. But as long as I would say this too, start learning about investments. Like I have an accountability group with some of the former players and coaches that I'm with. I used to coach with, and anyway, we have an accountability check about body. What did you say what you were going to do about your workout stuff? Prayer life. Were you accountable to that? Soul, mind, body, soul, mental peace. As far as what did you read? Not just the Bible, but did you read something to grow? And then financially, did you save? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a save thing. Did you learn about ETFs? Did you learn about stocks, bonds, real estate? Like, did you learn something to grow your wealth or create wealth? So, and I think that's a blessing too. It's almost like the Shy, where they had like the Zoom and, you know, they talk. It's kind of like the same thing. Well, I've never seen the Shy either, to be real, but Rhino told me that, so I'm going with it. But yeah, no doubt, man.
That's fire. That's fire, man. So let me get any last message that you want to preach to the world, and then if you want to plug your IG or maybe where
you can find me.
Yeah, if your barbershop has an IG, something like that.
Yeah, St. Charles Barber College.
Okay. So any last message that you want to leave the people, and then plug whatever you want to plug.
Cool. Repent and believe the gospel. This is like the one dude, he's like, you need a one night stand. He's like, no, I repent and believe the gospel, and he gives him this pamphlet. But seriously, Jesus is the real thing, and he changed my life in many forms and fashions. Don't be afraid to give yourself all of them to you. Because at first I was hesitant to do so, and once I finally let go and let God, he transformed my life. And don't be afraid to wait. The hardest thing to do is to work while you wait on a blessing, because you don't know when it's coming, and you're just working. You're like, man, I don't want to be here right now, but this is where he has me at in this season. But everything happens for a season and a reason, and it will be a blessing at the end of it. And if you kill somebody, there's only going to be about 2 people that's going to help you bury that body, and that's going to be your mom and dad. So make sure and try and salvage whatever relationship you have with your mother or father, because you only get one mom and one dad. And if I heard somebody talk on a podcast, he said, my mom and dad, they're 75 years old, and they live on the other side of the coast. And if I only see them 2 times a year for 5 years, and let's say if they live to 80, I only see them 10 times before they die. So think about that for a second. That's 10 times. So we're only on this earth for a short time. If you really think about it, like think about when you go through high school, and high school is only 4 years, and you're like, man, that went by fast. Well, think about if you're 31 like me. My 20s went like a fart in a windstorm. It went quick. So don't be afraid to change. That's the thing, right? Don't be afraid to change. But I think ultimately, be patient with yourself, because that was one of my downfalls. I wasn't patient enough. And you can find me at God-fearing OG. I'm gonna start putting out more content. As far as like just my basketball stuff, just showing my journey, really my weight loss journey, and see where that takes me. And yeah, like I really like helping people. Like that's what I realized about myself. I really like to help people and see where it goes from there. That's it.
Well, brother, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you sharing, being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Speaking your truth, man. I really do appreciate that. Another episode in the books. Peace.
I need Jenny Craig.